Yo, what is shaking, everybody? Welcome back to Your Brain on Vinyl. This is Your Brain on Vinyl right here. I'm here with my boy Chris. Chris, what's up, dude?
What's up, Jason?
Chilling. Yeah, today we want to talk about something fun. We were thinking like, man, let's do something where, let's just do something educational, so to speak, right? We all think we know the perfect grading standards. We all think we know, like, all right, what's a G plus? What's a BG? What's a BG plus? Near mint, all that stuff. But maybe we need to revisit because I'll be honest, dude, I've been picking up a lot of used records lately. And I got a couple that I'm going to show that are just not, you just scratch your head, dude. You just scratch your head and go, why are these so overgraded? So I don't know if you ever have that experience, man, but
I used to have it a lot, and that's why I have very specific calculated preferences when I buy used records beyond my usual pickiness.
you mean online too, or just in person?
Well, part of my pickiness, which we'll get into, is I just don't really, I try to avoid buying used records online, which probably robs me of a lot of opportunity because
Okay.
I need to have it. I need to have it and see it and make that decision on my own. Unless
I
it's a
hear that.
reputable buyer, somebody I've worked with in the past, then a seller, I should say, then I venture out of my comfort zone a little bit. But I haven't been burned, but I've been disappointed too often. So I've kind of altered my behaviors a bit.
Yeah, I hear that, dude. My strategy is probably more like take the chance and then just deal with it. Oftentimes I swear it seems like it comes in sprees, dude. Like I'll order a bunch of records used off eBay, off Discogs, and they'll be totally fine. And then suddenly I'll get like 5 in a row. I don't know how it works, but I'll get like 5 in a row and they're all just not what they should be. And especially when you're getting, you're paying big bucks for this stuff. Cesar, what's up, baby? Good to see you. Yeah, we'll run some polls throughout the stream too. We're going to show some records. We're going to ask you guys to grade them. And then we'll just talk about it. This is just a discussion, right? We're just going to talk about grading standards. This will be fun. So let's start off with, I want to hear your guys' stories too, man, good and bad. Again, if I didn't finish my thought, I buy almost exclusively used records. So I do a lot of trying to find deals, when whether it's, it might be at my local, but it also might be on Discogs, might be on eBay. I've taken some big chances with buying. Like I have 2 records that I just bought that are coming out of, I think, France. And it's taken a while to get here and stuff. But, I don't know, man. I feel somewhat safe because, I don't want to get deep into this right now, but there is YouTube protection or eBay protection and stuff like that. So, I don't know. I'm a little bolder maybe that way. Okay. Let's do this though. Let me show this. Boom. There we go. So there is the Goldmine grading standard that we all know and love. And we'll just go run down this real quick. Let's refresh everyone's memory on what these are supposed to be. We got mint, absolutely perfect in every way. Often rumored, but rarely seen. Most people aren't even going to grade their records mint unless they're sealed, right? Most people will say an open record's just not mint. Okay, that's fine. An open record that's maybe never been played or looks perfect, that's going to be your near mint or near mint minus. It looks like it just came from a retail store. It was opened for the first time. In other words, it's nearly perfect. Many dealers won't use a grade higher than this, implying perhaps correctly that no record or sleeve is ever truly perfect. But if that's the case, then why do we have a mint? So, but okay, so that's near mint. It looks unplayed basically, right? These are high standards. They are not a sliding scale. A record or sleeve from the 50s must meet the same standards as one from the 90s or 2000s to be near mint. It's estimated that no more than 2 to 4% of all records remaining from the 50s to the 60s are truly near mint. This is why they fetch such high prices. Okay. Then we got BG plus or excellent. Now this is interesting. And Chris, I sent you a text not long ago, right, of a screenshot of someone that was selling some records on Facebook Marketplace they were all over the place, dude. They had VG plus, they had VG plus plus, they had excellent plus. That starts to kind of get a little murky to my way of thinking. We have these standards here. Why aren't we just sticking to this? It's interesting they say VG plus or excellent. I want to kind of call that one out because I think a lot of people would assume that's different. A good description of VG Plus record, except for a couple minor things. This would be near mint. Most collectors, especially those who want to play their records, will be happy with a VG Plus, especially if it's toward the high end of the grade, sometimes called VG Plus Plus or Excellent Plus. Okay, well, so they are calling out here that if we're going to differentiate, it's better than a VG Plus, but it's not quite a near mint. So we all know what a VG, and be honest, look, a VG Plus, when I'm buying used records, that's my wheelhouse right there. I'm mostly always targeting VG plus, me personally.
VG plus and up, right?
VG plus and up, yeah. If I can, if I'm going to, even if I have the choice, usually because the kind of records I'm buying, the near mint is going to be way more. So I'm oftentimes I'm not even considering that, but it depends on the record, right? I'm happy with the VG plus usually, as long as it's graded right. Okay, VG. Many of the perfections found in VG Plus record are more obvious on a VG. That said, VG records, which usually sell for more than 25% of a near mint record, are among the biggest bargains in record collecting. So that's interesting. They're calling the VGs the biggest bargain as opposed to the VG Pluses. Man, okay. We'll get into that. And then it just goes from there, right? So they're calling G plus, very good minus. These records go for 10 to 15% of a near mint value if you're lucky. Good does not mean bad. Record still plays through. No skips. It can serve as filler until something better comes along. It does have significant surface noise and groove wear. The label's worn with significant ring wear, heavy writing, obvious damage, etc., etc. Poor and fair records go for 0 to 5% of the near mint value. If they go at all, more likely they end up going into the trash. Records are cracked, impossibly warped. They skip. So I want to just call that out too. By the time we get to a skip, we're calling that a fair or a poor record. And I think it's interesting that people have they draw the line in the sand a little bit differently, right? There are people that will consider a skip acceptable if it's just one. No, I can't have it. No. It's out of the collection, baby. Get the hell out if you got to skip.
There's one more they're missing though. Underneath poor and fair, below poor and fair, you have one of the category that's slabbed.
Below, okay. And then there's slab, which is unplayable, certainly. That's funny. All right, so there we go. That's a high level, right? That's, I'm actually surprised this isn't more detailed. I guess I didn't read everything, but that gives you an idea.
I see. I have concerns about this.
Okay.
I follow these as a barometer. I don't think anybody grades, including myself, to the letter of the law, because you could have there's 3 categories to consider here. There's the record itself, there's the cover, and then there's the audio experience on that record.
How it sounds, you're saying? How it looks and how it sounds.
Yeah, how the cover looks, how the record looks, and how it sounds, and the defects. And this is not a critique of anybody who sells records or stores, but there's no way a dealer doing volume has the time to properly grade the sound of a record for surface noise. They can do needle drops. They could kind of get a sense of how it sounds. So my biggest concern and why I try to stay offline, and it's not that I don't have this problem in stores, but in stores it's a little bit easier to test play a record or maybe get an exchange or work something out if you have like a relationship with the store, is that it could look near mint, I'm sorry, but it could be just riddled with surface noise. And I'm not a surface noise person. I just, except for the podcast, I I can't deal with. I don't want to hear in between tracks. Is acceptable, like that's fine. But like on quiet parts of records, I want it as silent as possible. On the flip side, I have records that look like total crap, and I've been assured by people I trust, like this plays flawlessly, and they do. Like there's physical defects, but the sound from a surface noise standpoint is fine. Maybe there's some frequencies that might be missing, or the sound quality might be poorer than if it was like near mint, physically and audibly. But is audibly a word? I'm not sure. But you see, you can't. You have to hold people selling accountable, and I think some of us are more critical than others. But you can't put blind faith into this grading system. And the other thing that I respect is they made a comment that this isn't a sliding scale.
Right.
Well, I can tell you, as records get older, my threshold lowers on what's acceptable. So yeah,
Okay.
I don't think I wouldn't. It's not like a baseball card. I don't know if you know about card grading, where like a 1945 9 is different than a 2029
Right.
9 on a scale of 10. Though that's a sliding scale. Here, I'm saying, okay, am I ever going to find a near mint of a 1952 Blue Note? Probably not. So if I can find a VG plus, I know what I'm getting into. I know it's going to have some of those imperfections that might drive me crazy on a normal record, but I'm willing to kind of take that gamble. So yeah, you shouldn't use that sliding scale on the grade, but you should use that sliding scale in your buying behavior. You
Okay.
follow?
I follow. My thought is there's a lot of things in the community that we can have some flexibility on. Grading is not one of them. I just feel like we all have to be on an even playing field. And I know you're not necessarily saying this. You said, just with the sliding scale on the age of the record. But I feel like a VG plus has to, it's all right here. And for people that are grading VGs as a VG plus, and how many would you say it's more often that people are overgrading or more often that sellers are undergrading? My personal experience, more often sellers are overgrading. They're saying it's a VG plus and they shoot it out to you and it's not, and I'm just saying that's the most common situation that I run into. Is that because they're being shady? They figure, well, I want to get that extra few bucks, and most people are going to be fine with it. They're not going to go through the trouble to return it. Or is it because there's just a misunderstanding of what the grading standard is? And I just think we all have to be on the same playing field. When it comes to grading, we all have to understand it so that we all know what we're talking about, because it's a record, dude. This is not like, it's different than a card in a lot of ways. You can look at a card, you can look at a comic book. We can all look at it and agree, okay, boom, that's a 9. For the most part, right? Here, like you said, there's a lot of variables, particularly with the sound. You said most, and you're right, most sellers can't be expected to and are not going to grade the audio. But if you're not going to put the time into grade the audio, then don't hit me with the charge. In other words, I'm doing your audio sampling for you, right? You're going to send it to me. I'm going to drop the needle on it, and it's not going to be what it's cracked up to be. And there's a lot of things we can get into. I know we're going to show records and stuff like that. That becomes an inconvenience for the buyer. It becomes not just that, but sometimes, and I have a story. I'll save it for the story. But does that make sense? For me, it's like, I think if there's a level playing field, we all understand what the grading standards are. We can all be happier with our vinyl buying experiences.
Yeah, well, I also think that I have a couple of comments that might be a little bit disconnected here, but I have to make them. So first off, I think this grading system is taken from an antique perspective.
Mm.
We're purchasing an imperfect medium. Even a near mint record technically is imperfect. In fact, once you drop a stylus on a record, it's no longer a near mint, in my opinion. That doesn't mean I don't grade them near mint, because I know what people are expecting, right?
Right.
And I think I have very good feedback on eBay and Discogs, because I'm also very selective on what I sell. If I think it might be questionable and I can't come to the grade, I'd rather just not be have my feet held to the fire 2 weeks later, sending a refund to somebody and getting a negative feedback and all that stuff.
Right.
That's something I'd rather just swap with somebody or take to a store. So I think that this is so focused on the physical, and I know there's comments about surface noise and some of this stuff on these records, but we also have different thresholds for surface noise. How many times do you talk to somebody in the vinyl community or a new purchaser who says, "Oh, the crackle is just the charm of it." I'm like, "No, it means your record's dirty or damaged." Like,
Well,
that's
like
what
here
that
they
means.
say groove wear evident on site, as are light scratches deep enough to feel with a fingernail. I just pulled this up before the show and it is on the Goldmine website. I assumed it was going to be more comprehensive. I've seen things in the past where it talks about how many ticks and pops are acceptable, right? And so, yeah, to get there, someone's got to listen to the whole record, right? But I just think when it comes to selling records, it should be the return policy's got to be extremely smooth. That's just my
That
opinion, because if you're not going to play it and I'm going to play it and I'm going to grade it and I'm going to say, this is not BG plus, and I get it. It's an honest mistake. I understand you didn't grade it. That's totally fine, but I'm sending it back.
that's where I'm kind of getting at, is that there has to be an understanding in the transaction that, and I think I'm extremely picky.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I
I would say that
I
just based on a little bit I know about you.
I don't buy these just to say I have it and it's some crackly piece of plastic I can't listen to or drive me. That's not what my collection is. I'd rather just not have it. Um, but I think to your point, because there's so much gray, I think somebody perfect prescription vinyl community, he made a comment, lots of gray in those definitions. There is a lot of gray in those definitions. That's why the seller and the buyer have to be compatible. That's why you have to find people that are willing to say, you know what, all right, I understand where you're coming from, like, I'll issue the refund. And that seller also has to make a decision. I can tell you, I've met people on Discogs before the sale gets completed, and I'm like, look, you're asking me these 6 or 7 questions. These are my honest answers. If you're going to be ultra critical, I'd rather just not sell it to you. So just know that this is my honest assessment of the record. And every time it's worked out. But like, that conversation needs to happen, because to your point, it's not like buying a CD where you don't see a scratch on it. It's not like looking at a slabbed baseball card and everybody knows what a 9.5 is with perfect 4 corners. Records
Right.
are imperfect. There is not a record in the world that's completely flat. I don't care what anybody says. There's always some kind of imperfect defect, some kind of
It's an
flaw.
imperfect media,
It's an
right? I mean,
imperfect
these aren't
medium,
digital
right? So,
files, right?
right. So it's and yeah, this is a barometer, and the seller has more responsibility to grade conservatively. And quite frankly, if you see something that's near mint that seems too good to be true, probably is. It just probably is, unless you go into some of these stores like Limited to One in New York City. They grade their records and they're doing like a custom OB strip, and they listen and play test everything, and they give feedback. This has these defects, these don't. People just, the volume of records being sold on these third party platforms like eBay and Discogs, like no one's able to do it, especially stores. Now, if I find a person who has like incredible feedback with 10 listings, those are the people I look for, because I'm like, they probably are really dialed into their collection and know exactly what the concerns might be on the record, or graded properly.
Yeah, I mean, these are all great tips, and we should get into some of this stuff, and I left some space at the end to get into this. And my question is, I'm not even sure if it's a comment, because I don't know. I don't want to sound like the vinyl grading police or whatever, but it's like, we're having to what you're describing is compensating for, God, I don't know. It sounds harsh, but ineptitude in grading, right? You're saying like, okay, let's find the sellers that know what they're doing, or that we can find some common ground on in terms of how to grade this stuff, and ignore the other ones. Yes, that is a good tip. And you would hope that, those people would get wise and start grading their records. Because I guarantee you, I've returned stuff and it's been because of grade, and I'll tell them exactly why. And I don't think I am that harsh. I'm just realistic, you know, and I'm just trying to get what I paid for. And I guess my point is there a space for, like, is it even possible? Because it's a self-educating thing, right? To understand this stuff. How many sellers are just not taking the time to do it? Who's gonna push it on them? There is not really a grading police that says that's gotta follow a certain standard before you can sell it or before you can grade it or whatnot. So you're right. It's unreasonable to expect that. I guess it's kind of like, who's going to be the one to correct? Is the seller going to correct and read this and just grade according to what the Goldmine system says? Or is it the buyer that has to keep correcting and saying, this isn't acceptable, send it back, find buyers that work for you?
Well,
anyway.
Well, one of the things that's important to note here too, and I say this because everybody can relate to it that's watching, we're part of a vinyl community, right? The buyers are part of that community, and you have a lot of new buyers that don't, maybe they're getting a record that isn't graded properly, but they're happy with us. They're leaving that positive feedback on that seller. So there is a little bit of that too. And you cast a ballot you cast a vote every time you buy from somebody, or you should be leaving feedback.
Right.
If I'm not, this is no knock on people entering, because I'm guilty of it too when I was new. But if I buy something that I think is near mint, but it's not near mint, and then I give positive feedback, then that person is also justified by their grading. So it's like,
yep, that's a great point.
There's so much gray in it, and there's so much back and forth. I don't think you can hold it to a scientific, quantifiable system. I think it's just a tool for people to know, hey, I'm buying this record and it's not beat to shit. Now, as you get more and more into the hobby, or your needs and wants change, then you become more critical. You know, I think everybody's near mint is different. I do. I think everybody's VG plus is different. And that comes down to,
well, because there's a million different VG pluses, right? That's the other problem. Like you said, it's like, and this is not a perfect media. And so, yeah, a few ticks for me, if it's spread out over the course of a side, is totally acceptable. Whereas if maybe when you hear a tick, you like throw it across the room. I'm joking, but I mean,
no, I don't throw it, but it ruins my day.
Yeah, it ruins your day. Let me go through some of these comments real quick, because I want to hit some of these people up. Cesar, thank you. I showed your comments. He says he mostly buys online. He takes his chances, which is what I do. BG Plus will do if the description fits the description of the seller. Also said, I've had mostly good luck. Mostly 90% of what I buy, what is graded as, so it's not that bad. I've had, and again, this might just be where I draw the line in the sand for me is, and I kind of tracked it for a while. I was returning 25 to 30% of the used records I was buying. And it wasn't always that bad, but over a stretch of time, I was doing a lot of returns. Exactly what you said, Chris. You speak with your wallet. You can't just accept it if it's not acceptable, and because then that changes the experience for everyone, or influence the experience for everyone. Jason Rojas, what's up, Jay? Thanks for being here, dude. VC quote in 2025: BG plus 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 plus. Because I threw the record in the humdinger, and it resolves all problems. Yeah. That's the thing, dude. Don't just say we humdingered it and it's all good. Ricefield, shout out to Japanese sellers. Yeah, I mean, dude, you know me, I do buy a lot of Japanese vinyl, and there is a standard that's a little different. I don't know why, you know, I don't want to pigeonhole any whatever or any situation like that, but it just seems like, with my experience, I can confidently say that the stuff that I get that's VG plus oftentimes is minty fresh. It is minty fresh. So that's really good. Perfect prescription vinyl community. On expensive records, they should be play graded, saves problems later. I've said that in the past. You're absolutely right, dude. You're speaking my language. If you're going to hit me with a $125 price tag, listen to the thing. Like, I don't, if it's a 15, 20, even a $30 record, fine, whatever. But if it's something pricey, you have to justify that price. You can't just justify it by visually grading it. And also, if you're putting in your listing visually graded, I mean, that's only half the story, as we talked about, Chris. That's half the story. I don't really care that much, especially if it's an expensive record. It can, if I'm trying to buy the record and I want to hear the music, it can look how it looks. I don't really care if initials are on the label, and it depends. But if it's something I'm really trying to get, it can have some wear on the cover and stuff. If you're charging me,
go ahead. Anything I sell $40 or more is listened to. Any double 50 or more is listened. I just don't want to go through the hassle. And
yeah,
I don't,
absolutely.
I sell so seldomly. I don't want the negative feedback. I'd rather not sell it. I just would rather have the reputation. So when I do want to get rid of something worthwhile, people can trust it.
Yep. Ricefield again. I know shops in Japan that play grade their used records. That's good to know. Ricefield Records, of course, posts up in Japan, so has a lot of experience with Japanese sellers. Perfect Prescription again, eBay at least gives the option of having a picture of the record. Yeah, that is another fantastic point, man, which is there's at least an opportunity to show us the wax and see the record on eBay. I'm very surprised that Discogs, who has to be the leader in record sellers, right? I mean, they must sell more records than any other one place, and yet they don't offer pictures. And that's another thing I want to get into too, and I'll just tease it, which is inner sleeves, shrink wrap, hype sticker. Like, this is all stuff that we don't really always get. We're not privy to when we buy something. It would be great to have a category for that, or a place, a very specific place, maybe even a checkbox. Graded records are becoming a thing, right? Like, give us the checkbox so that when I'm scanning, or even filter, maybe I want to filter because I'm just looking for hype stickers. Let me filter by hype sticker. Anyway, I could go on forever about features I would like to see on Discogs. I'm just going to finish this real quick, Chris. Raphael says, before I buy something near mint, I always let the seller know I'm picky and will return if not graded properly. 90% of the sellers will back out, which is great.
Good.
I managed to find the true near mints that way. Yeah, it's honesty is the best policy. And if you can kind of front load that with what you're really truly looking for. And I've done that too. I'll be like, especially on some that I picked up a couple of copies and it hasn't been what I've wanted. I almost feel like it's I don't say an omen or whatever, but like it's my destiny for finding a quality copy of certain titles can be rough. So yeah, I'll say, okay, what do you mean by VG plus? What does the vinyl look like? Have you play graded this? Stuff like that. And then lastly, OJ says, it's the rotating clicks that kill it. That should be VG minus in my opinion. Yeah. So you're talking about, exactly. I call them recurring ticks or something, where it's obviously a scratch or something. It's not just a pop. It's a recurring tick that gets in your head, man. You know what I mean? That's like torture when you're hearing that back. And yeah, I can't deal with that either. I want to know about that. All right, dude. Any other thoughts before we go into some of these examples and we let the community decide?
Well, yeah, we're talking about used records. I have a lot of bones to pick with new stock as well, which I want to get into, which is I'm very, very passionate and irate about a lot of times.
Give us the bullet points on that before we jump into some grading.
Well, I think there's a lot more risk buying pre-owned or used or pre-loved records, which is fine. But over the past 2.5 years, and you've heard me talk about this on other streams, my experience buying new records and the QC issues have been atrocious. And I just can't fathom how this happens. And I just had a really negative experience with that You Discover 50% off sale that we all were taking advantage of at the end of the year. And I have a stack of records here that most of them are unplayable and they're brand new. And to your point about inner sleeves and beat up boxes and things like that, it was just interesting experience. So it's discouraging sometimes. Like, I've been more conservative in buying used, really only buying used in person, so I can make that determination unless it's something I really want. But I tracked Vinyl Me Please for a long time. You've heard this. I think I returned a record 17 straight months to them. or not returned because they don't accept returns, but they sent me replacements. And lately, it's like just major anxiety when I open a new album. Like, is this going to be playable? Is there anything egregious about it? And even if I lowered my standards a bit, there's still some that I'll show that I just can't fathom how they got sent out.
Yeah, to me that's 10 times worse. And what's funny is it's probably far more common even are these, and it's not just modern pressings coming out of distributors. Oftentimes it's very high-end vinyl coming out of these distributors that are touted as this is the definitive pressing, it goes through all the press, right? This is the definitive pressing. This was mastered by so-and-so. I won't even mention any names, but and it's in this tip-on jacket and it's this and it's that. And so, they want to get that money from you, right? And then you buy the record and you get it. And Chris is going to show some. He's far more experienced with buying these kinds of titles than I am. And it's not right, and it's so anyway, we'll get into that. Real quick. What's up, Brandon, Mr. Hall of Fame in the house, starting in the most basic place, give excellent rating on Discogs. The difference between a VG Plus and Near Mint Plus can be a mile apart. That is true, dude. And while I'm kind of like, well, what's up with all these these other grades and stuff? And if it was used properly, yeah, maybe it would work. But you're right, dude. I think an excellent, but you saw, if you were here, I was showing it right on their website. They're basically calling a VG Plus and excellent the same thing, unless I read that wrong. But yeah, so I think that would be good. Cesar Humdinger does miracles. So that's what I've heard. In fact, Brandon he says, man, he's got a nice, why am I spacing out?
The gritter.
Yeah. What the audio? Yeah. Where the sound waves are taking out the, not a spin clean, but the others. Okay.
Ultrasonic.
And he swears by him. He swears by
Makes
him.
a difference.
Does. He's like, dude, send me some records. I'm actually think I'm going to take him up on that offer and send some records because I do have some that have some stuff. I want to see, if it does work a miracle. But yeah,
I would do it for you too. I agree. Well,
maybe I'll send a record to each of you guys. All right. Elliot says, I hold that VG Plus should have no issues. Therefore, most used records are actually VG. But real world VG Plus seems to have been watered down to anything without major surface noise. That's my standard. I sell records. I don't want to make this about, because I sell a lot of records and I don't want to make this about that. But yeah, my standard's VG Plus on most stuff that just looks perfect. To me, that's going to be a VG Plus. That's because I don't want to go through the problems and the hassles that Chris was talking about. I'd way rather have good experience with people and lose a few bucks. If I do, they get a great deal. Great. Rather than like pinch somebody for a few dollars because, oh, this is on the line. Like most people probably won't notice, it's like, no, I won't go there.
Well, we did a pretty substantial trade a few months ago and you were like, oh, these records are VG Plus. And most of them I was like, VG Plus, these are flawless.
Yeah.
Most of the ones you sent me. So I agree with your conservative approach.
Yeah.
I was like, damn. I mean, a couple were definitely VG Plus, and that's fine. But some of them, like these look unplayed, perfectly flat, no surface noise, nothing. So,
and if we weren't already friends, like you'd buy from me again, you'd feel confident, right? You wouldn't be like, I'm gonna avoid this person, let me block them because they're not grading right.
The other thing that I want to bring up too, and I think a lot of people in the chat might experience this. I don't think people understand how your equipment can really impact the grading of a record. What I mean by that is if you get into certain types of cartridges, higher end phono stages, higher end turntables, they're going to reveal more mistakes. They're going to get more information off the record. And you have to be prepared that, yes, the grade are going to sound amazing, but the ones that you may be kind of disguised on a certain turntable or certain stylus or equipment, it's going to get revealed as you kind of go up in the line on equipment too. So that's also a curveball people don't consider. If you're a quality freak and you have nice equipment, you're going to have to be prepared to be disappointed more often, unless you just don't care about that stuff, and that's fine too. But a lot of people say, "Oh, my new turntable sounds like crap." I'm like, "Well, you just upgraded 3 steps, so you're getting more information out of that record that has flaws that you may not have picked up elsewhere."
That's just making me think of, and this is a little bit different than what you're describing, but it makes me think of, I was in a record store one time hunting around and I heard a discussion someone saying, I got this record from you and it skips. And the person behind the counter was like, "Oh, you know what you got to do is you got to put a penny on your stylus and that'll hold it down." And the guy's like, "Oh, really?" The guy's like totally buying into it. Obviously, the person didn't have a lot of experience, with record, maybe had a cheaper record player, whatever. I don't care. How much did this guy really probably spend? I'm guessing he bought a $10 record. And now he's getting this advice, tape a penny to the top of, and I'm sorry if there are people in chat that are down with that, but from a conversation between a buyer and a seller, I don't think that is anything you should be recommending to someone. Take the damn record back. I mean, it was killing me. It was all I could do to stay quiet. I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And this kid's like, "Oh, okay, just tape a penny on top." I'm like, I wanted to just, it was terrifying. Okay, real quick, and then we'll move on.
That's not very communal of you to be quiet. You should have said something.
You're right. I should have said something. This was a long time ago. No.
Fair enough.
Mike spins. I like to hold it in my hands and look at it with my own eyes before I buy used these days. Yeah, Chris, I know you're the same way. It's funny. Just a quick story is I went to a local out here that had posted on their Instagram. They got a bunch of 90s in that was dropping, all OG stuff. And I knew Chris is interested in that stuff. So I said, "Hey, I'm going to this place. Let me call you when I get there." You were very hesitant, right? It's like, "I want to be there to see it, dude." I'm like, "Okay, I got you. I got you."
Yeah, because I would get it from you, and then if it was like not up to my standards, I would never say anything to you because you did me such a huge favor, and I just don't want that on my conscience.
Yeah, I know.
You know
That's
I mean?
kind of a tough position to be in. Real quick, Cesar, oh man, not even sure what oh, okay. You got, okay, Cesar. Hey man, for you, we just work in our own edits, dude. Don't even worry about it. Yeah, ultrasonic. Thank you, Brandon. I was brain farting there. Perfect Prescription says reasonable stores have a turntable for you. Okay. First of all, when you go to, I want to maybe a show of hands, or Chris, when you go, are you all about the turntable? Do you take your records over there and listen to them? Because I'm going to be 100% honest right now. I don't normally. I've done it a couple of times, but oftentimes I'm just kind of like, is it worth the trouble? What about you?
All relative for me. So there's a couple of stores that I've bought from consistently over the years where like the owners, I've given them the look and they're like, not that one. And I'm like, okay, right. They have tables there. But then there's like, if I'm going into a place, like if I'm going into like a used bookstore and they have a bunch of $8 or $10 records, I'm not listening to it. I'm checking the visual condition and I'm moving on with my life.
And the tables are usually atrocious, right? I mean, that's been my experience.
Yeah, that's my thing. But if I go into a store, it looks reputable and they have a table and it's not too busy and there's something I really want, and I'm like, for this price, is it worth it? Then yeah, I'll give it a shot.
Yeah.
I think it's a good resource, and I think it protects. I think it protects the store too, because I can say you could have demoed it. It's like, don't buy the car if you're not going to test drive it. Or if you're going to test drive it, not going to test drive it, then just be happy with what you got, that you didn't get
100%. Yeah, you're right. A perfect prescription. I'm more guilty of ignoring the turntable more than anything, but it is, you're right. It's a store should offer that so that you can check it out. And I have used it. I bought records where I'm like, I'm not going to pull the trigger on this unless I hear it first. I think we're on the same page there. Listener Bazaar, welcome. Why doesn't someone make a recording of each grade and use it as an agreed upon reference? The problem is that all records sold at record stores are not graded by listening to it. Yeah, that's what we were saying before, is most people aren't listening to this stuff. And it's not practical to listen to it, right? Because it's a real-time thing. You got to sit through the whole thing. Yeah, you could spot sample a little here and there, which I think would be fine. If I knew places were at least spot listening, I mean, look, that's not a bad idea, but yeah, you're right. I mean, in some of these, the thing is, yeah, even if you put all that stuff out, like, is everyone, I was talking about earlier, how do you enforce it? I guess is the bottom line. But yeah, it would be great to have that stuff out there. You said it earlier too, Chris, and not to, I don't want to open up this can of worms again, but just quickly comment on, there might be groove wear that's not visible, that's not surface noise, but is a loss in frequencies and stuff like that can be an issue. But I mean, you got to draw the line somewhere. At some point, you just, like you said, you just have to dive in and say, okay, I'm going to take a chance here. Appreciate all the comments, guys. I want to make sure I get to everything. Real quick, we'll wrap up the comment section and then we'll jump to the next thing because we want to actually grade some records on camera for you guys. US is nice, but it cleans no better or worse than other legit cleaning methods. Yeah. I've heard that it depends on the frequency. I've heard that some of these things that are cheaper aren't actually the right frequency to actually get it. I don't know what it is, 30,000 megahertz, 30 megahertz, whatever it is. I don't really know. Maybe Brandon can help us out, or you can, Chris, but there's a specific frequency that is supposed to be the secret to this stuff. I don't know, because I don't own one.
I have the Humdinger, and I did it before and after on 3 different sessions of just new records, the build up and the gunk on the filter before and after. It definitely works.
Okay.
I have no other way to describe it, but it does. Does it work to its full potential? That I'm not going to go down the path of debating, but because it works good enough for me. That's what matters. Yep.
Gotcha. Perfect says, agree, equipment makes all the difference. Yep, that's very true. It's a whole nother variable, which tends to be, unfortunately, the first place that a lot of sellers will go. And you can testify to this, Chris. Oh, it must be your turntable. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't, right? Okay. Brandon says it definitely makes a big difference. Cesar, you just save some money. Do not upgrade. I quote Chris. I don't want my records to sound like crap. I'd rather keep my cheap blue Ortophone cart and cheap turntable. I mean, blue Ortophone's respectable.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, come on, Cesar. You're trying to cry that it's cheap. Blue or any Ortophone's awesome.
Yeah. Real quick, Elliot. I think I get the same results using methods and mixture to clean. I haven't seen any difference. There are certainly positives to the ultrasonics. Less hands-on time. I mean, okay, we're caught up. All right. Well, let's show a few things. I thought it would be fun just to kind of show some records, talk about some experiences that we've had that weren't so great, and maybe make it fun by kind of creating a couple polls for you guys, and you guys can weigh in on how would you grade this just based on looks. And maybe we can get into the sound a little bit, but yeah, we'll set up a little poll here. You mind if I kick it off, Chris? We'll just do one quick and then I'll kind of grease the skids for you.
No, go ahead. Take your time. Mine's going to be, mine's good.
And also jackets too. I think would be interesting, especially with new jackets with our crew over on Service Noise. Most people there on that, we're talking about Chance, Arnaldo, Jose, Jason, you buy a lot of these reissues that are coming out, and so there's a lot of talk around jacket condition and stuff like that, which is unacceptable for that to be an issue when you're paying that kind of money.
Unacceptable. And I have an example.
Well, let me do this one quick then, and then you go.
Yeah.
I don't remember what this one looks like. I just got this record. It was oh yeah, right there. VG Plus was how it was graded. Let me blow myself up here. Let me give you guys a chance to tell me what you think. Hope you guys can see this. I tried to set up the light. Hopefully you guys can see some of that.
Like the white. Yeah,
it's probably right outside the light when it's not in. Don't look at the white area, but just to the side of it, you can start to see. Look at that up there where my fingers point. So look at that on that side. Another scratch. So VG Plus, guys. Oh yeah, let me do this. Here we go. How'd I get that?
What band is it?
So this is Ramp. So here's the thing. This is a very tough record to get. Roy Ayers Music Productions, Ramp. There we go. But it's very foggy. So I pull this thing out of the sleeve as a VG Plus.
Ultrasonic cleaner.
Yeah. Look at that. Is ultrasonic going to take care of that?
No. That's a party smudge.
That's a party smudge. Okay, I haven't heard that one. Okay, there's a good. view of it. Okay. It has surface noise on it. There are ticks on this. There is, there's some quiet music on it. There is some ticks. Just for fun, I just want to throw up a poll real quick, and then I'll let you comment on this, Chris. Okay, if I can get my keyboard to work again. Oh, here we go. So this is ramp. And I guess you guys could just comment, but I think it's more fun to do this. Even though it means quiet time while I type it up. All right. So there's a poll just for fun, guys. What do you think of that, Chris? I mean, what would you have immediately returned to this thing, or
if I saw it in the store, I wouldn't even pick it up.
You wouldn't even bother?
No. And if I got that as a VG plus, that would be a return. I would clean it and play it.
Yeah,
because I put the effort into trying to get it.
Yeah,
but to me, that just screams misgraded.
It's misgraded. I don't have a ultrasonic, but I spun clean it, and it still has surface noise. Here's why I didn't return it. Because I actually probably paid VG price on that, and these are very difficult to get, and they're rising in price daily. My problem was, well, if I return this, when am I going to get another one? You know what I mean? Can I live with it? Can I live with it? Yes, you're right. That's part of the sliding scale.
Yeah, I agree.
And that was one I just was willing to be like, you know what? I'm just going to live with it. Because initially I'm like, oh, this is crap. I'm returning this. And then I went back. I'm like, okay, what's the next one I'm going to get if I return it? And the answer was, you want to drop 2 or 3 times more than what you paid for this? Then fine. So it's not terrible. It's just not VG plus. Most 56% people saying VG. Yep, I think that's fair. If it had said VG, and to be fair, it was kind of an unusual situation. It was really priced as a VG, which is why I jumped on it. But when it came, it was not VG plus. It was more VG, like you guys are saying. Yeah, I would agree with that. All right.
Well, here's the other factor too. And if you ever want to now, let's say it plays fine, all that good stuff. If you ever want to move on from that record, you have to sell it as VG.
Dude, that is the money comment of the day. Put a gold star on it. When you go to resell this stuff, you're going to be stuck with it, man. And I have one that I'm going to show that is a perfect example of that, which was a deal that I should not have made, but I want to get into it because it addresses exactly what you're saying. Let me just go through this. I'm sorry. I want to make sure we got a lot of comments, which I can't tell you much. I appreciate you guys being here and leaving all these comments. It's awesome. But let me just address these, and then we're going to let Chris jump in on his. Concert Buddy, what's up? I grade this show A++. Thank you. Appreciate you, baby. Appreciate you. Cesar says VG minus. I mean, dude, you wouldn't be wrong. You would not be wrong. Elliot Cruz scratches make it VG, visually need to play it, and it might be VG plus, but visually VG. Yeah, that's fair. In this case, I think it was definitely not VG plus, at least to my way of thinking. And I'm trying to go by Goldmine as much as I can. Visually play grade makes the overall grade. Concert Buddy, absolutely. Cesar agrees. It looks G to Listener of the Bizarre. Okay, I like that. I like I mean, we should be grading that way, right? We got to be leaning more towards the conservative. We just have to, as part of the reason we're doing this show. Yeah, Chance, so many online sellers just look at it, throw a grade. They'll just say visually graded. Yeah, we got into that earlier, right? Wyoming Dave, what's up? Thanks for being here. Elliot, those were major scratches. How deep were they? It was a lot of smudges, and there was a couple of light scratches. I'm going to show one that it will be very obvious that is a feelable, terrible scratch. But But these weren't really, I didn't notice any recurring ticks we talked about earlier. It was more going to be just some surface noise. Ba, 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 ba. Sorry, I'm trying to get to everybody. Cesar, hit the like button. Totally agree. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe. Please like. And if you like the video, it helps us out for sure. Concert Buddy in the house with that. Thank you. Yes, Chris would never buy a VG record that I was not super hot on because I'd possibly sell it later on. Yes, that's the golden comment, I think. It was bought on a collection of records that I would clean and keep. And then Brandon, I know Brandon and Elliot are going back and back back and forth about the ultrasonic.
I like Shane's comment because it kind of speaks to the economics of the disappointed in grading. Chances are if he bought a collection and that was in there, he subsidized the purchase of that record. It's almost like a loss leader.
Oh, right.
Right. So if the records are valued, let's just simple math at $10 a pop, and he bought the collection, bought 20 records at $10 a pop for $200. That's what the value is, but he paid $50 for it. Then it's like, all right, I'll keep it. But he's not overpaying or expecting something out of that collection. It's just kind of almost like a freebie in the grand scheme of things. So I dig what he's saying.
Yeah, me too. I'm not muted, right? Am I muted? You can hear me?
No, you're good. You're good.
Okay. So 69% said VG. Yep.
Yeah, it's a VG.
I concur. We're going to end that poll, but we'll create a new one for Chris right here. Okay, what do you got, baby?
I'm going to just, the simple one that I'm going to highlight is some of you have been disappointed in me for being a Tone Poet Society member. And this is going to be tough to show, and I'm being critical because of the apparent scarcity of this release. This is that Walter Davis Cup they did 1,000 of that you could purchase. And it's tough to see here, but if you run your finger over it, there's a massive ding on this. Now, if this was just a typical Tone Poet or whatever reissue, it just goes on my shelf. Like, I could care less. But I'm so pissed off that they did 1,000 of these, shipping it out to people who bought subscriptions, and they couldn't quality check this because it was actually packaged really well, especially by Blue Note or Universal standards when they shipped this thing. But this is the type of stuff that drives me nuts on a new record of scarcity as such, or I wouldn't say scarcity, limited edition. And quite frankly, I could probably sell this and subsidize the quarter I paid because it's a good record, but it's not to die for. And if I go to sell this to somebody who's like a Blue Note freak, I'm gonna have to take off, $50 off this just for this little ding corner here. But it's that's one of my horror stories. But the big horror story,
because that's just to be clear, that's one of the quarterly exclusives, right?
Yeah. And I don't care.
You have to be.
Record plays great.
And the only way to have access to those before the secondary market is to be a member of the Tone Poet Society.
Yeah, where's my card? Hold on.
Let's see I want to see the pin too, dude.
I don't know where it is. That's how much I care. It's somewhere around here.
See, that's something that would not bother me at all. Like even if I bought it, and probably much to because you're right. At some point, all these records will end up nice. Let me blow you up here. I should have blown you up on the last one.
I'm an official card-holding member of the Tone Poet Society.
And he wears his pin. And before he opens the box, he receives it. He won't even pick it up off the porch until he's wearing his pin, right?
That's right. I put it on. I light some incense. I put on Blue Train, and I go pick up my package.
A Blue Train's the go-to. Okay. But yeah, at some point you got to resell this stuff. That to me, and I'll be honest, I tend to forget that, man. I tend to forget that like this stuff is going to get someone else is going to own it, and you're going to have to sell it. And if you could be hurting your own pocketbook by accepting something that's less than what it's actually valued at, because eventually you're going to be the one holding the bag or whatever they say.
I'm not a flipper. I don't have any sealed records. The one sealed record I had recently, I sold. But when I got that exclusive and I went on Discogs and I saw the listings, I'm like, I might not even open this. It's insane. And to I forgot who said it. listener of the Bazaar said, yeah, one major flaw on a new record jacket that would probably drop that straight to VG plus. One little ding. It's like, come on, Blue
Yeah,
Note.
it's true.
Gotta be better. But it's universal. That's what you get. So I know that this is about grading used records, but my experience the past couple of years especially has been on new stuff, and I've had just some awful experiences, and that's one minor one.
Yeah, and I mean, it comes into play. It may not come into play in the same way, but at some point that ding is going to come into play, right? When you're grading that jacket. Cesar, I see most of us like to buy clean records near mint of true VG plus. At least I try to, but I hear that from you guys too. I know Chance to and Ronaldo, etc. We pay up for it though. Yeah, those are not cheap, man. Perfect says, yep, that's Downer with a Walter Davis. Those aren't cheap. Blue Note, that's not acceptable. Shane, yeah, I mean, I shared that post with you, right, Chris, where there's been a lot of complaints. I don't want to, this isn't a bashing session or anything like that, but there has been some complaints. And I know a lot of people are buying Blue Notes and have been Tone Poets and Classic and subscribing and stuff. But there's been a lot of complaints about the shipping or just the condition that some of those records are arriving in and stuff like that. It's been kind of disappointing.
Well, they got me because I bought the Lee Morgan Blue Note Review. I like those collections a lot. And it came and I was like, oh man, this better, like, please, no problems. It came in like a reinforced huge box, fit snug. I'm like, oh, they got it together. So when the Tone Poet Society came, I thought about the shipping. I'm like, oh man, these guys are terrible. But like the Blue Note Review was shipped awesome. So I'm like, I'll give it a shot. And like I said, the packaging wasn't bad on this. I don't think that's a ding in shipment. I mean, it was snug in the mailer they sent. Yeah. But anyway.
Just make sure I'm covering everybody here. One major flaw on a record jacket would probably drop straight to VG plus. Yeah, listener said we already commented on that. Does Chris get the discount at the dry cleaners with that TPS pen?
Kevin Gray does my laundry. Light starch.
Man.
Light starch.
So you can deal with a corner ding in that case.
Yeah.
Yeah, Cesar, hard to find true near mint. Yeah. In Mexico and South America. Don't know why. Elliot buys lots of online records at below going price because less than near mint or even BG plus covers don't bother me at all. Yeah. You're not playing the jacket, as they say. So 56% of our viewers today, Chris, would say absolutely that is a maximum of BG plus at best on that Tone Poet. So another story I will get into, and this one has this has a whole plot. So, I wanted to pick up a nice copy. I say a listenable copy, a non-skipping copy of an early Rock Around the Clock, right? Bill Haley and the Comets. Just a cool classic album I've always, kind of want to have in the collection, just like Elvis's early stuff. I just love having it. I do love that stuff. And it's cool having old 50s OGs of this stuff. And so I bought one from a guy and it came and it might've been a VG. If I'm being honest, I can't remember exactly what he had it listed as. VG at worst. This is what came. I don't know how much you can, oh yeah, you can see that, right?
Yeah.
And I'm just showing you the visuals. It has multiple skips. All you gotta do is drop it on track 1, and it's just skipping to my Lou.
I don't believe you. I can't imagine that.
I know. Were you gonna tell me to put a penny on it?
Just do the wood glue.
Do the wood glue. Yeah, this thing is garbage. I only still have it because when I replace it, I'm gonna, I don't know, I might use the jacket still or something. But so I messaged the guy, and of course I'm not gonna mention any names. And this is a couple of years back, and I'm like, hey man, got your record. And I'm always nice about this stuff because I'm a seller. I get it. I understand stuff slips through the cracks. I'm gonna be nice to you and just assume that you're gonna take care of it. Yeah, I got the record. It's not what you graded it as. I get it. You probably didn't listen to it. It skips multiple times and all this stuff, right? I wake up the next morning to a message berating me. How dare I, question the grade of this record, and that what did I expect? I'm buying a record from the 50s. Did I want it to sound like a new record? Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, are you kidding me? So I was about ready to lose it, but then he sent another message immediately after. So I click on the second message, just like, hey man, I'm sorry. Yeah, you can, but then actually his second message, even though he's apologizing for his attitude, then he's like, all you got to do is pay for the return shipping. I'm like, I'm not paying for return shipping, dude. What are you talking about? You're the one that misgraded it. Like, look, if you were doing me a favor and, letting me return it because for some other reason, like, yeah, of course I'll pay for the return shipping, but I'm not paying. So anyway, I finally got the guy to refund me. And then he didn't even ask for the record back. So now it's just a good story, but, I don't even know if I should do a poll on this. I mean, it's garbage. It skips multiple times. I didn't even listen to the whole thing and I got like 3 skips on it. So, yeah. So that's one of my horror stories.
Well, you could resell it to someone under 30 because half of them don't even play their records; they just buy them.
Oh, but anyone that's under 30 in the chat, notwithstanding.
Yeah. Well, I said half. I said half.
You did say. You didn't say which half. All right. Just checking on any other messages here. I've had great experience with everything, says Shane. Jazz shipping, customer service to Canada would be good if they shipped for Blue Note. Like it says, age of a record doesn't mean the grading changes. Yeah, exactly. I mean, even Goldmine is that's part of their standard. It's not a sliding scale.
Just the buyer's threshold changes.
Yeah, exactly. Do you think I'm ever going to buy from this guy again? Hell no.
No. Why would you?
And it's not even that the record was poorly graded. It's that I got all the flack for the return, right? It's like, come on, dude. Got to give props to Spins for doing some of the best creative auctions out there. Cesar, you're the man. Thank you so much. I'm going to get back to it. I've been taking a break, but this weekend I'm going to get back to it. OJ, yeah, put that skipper up on the wall. Yeah. You might see that in a stream sometime. Yeah, this would look really good on a wall, man. The jacket's nice, presents nice, so maybe we'll just do that. The grooves on late 50s LP seem way less deep than later better pressings, in my opinion. Interesting, listener. Yeah, I've always wondered about that. And like Chris was saying, is that sometimes a record can look terrible and still play good. And I don't know if that's like the deep groove stuff or whatever, but because sometimes even the lightest hairline scuff will ruin a record. And other times it can be completely destroyed looking and still sound great. Yeah. Okay. What else you got, dude? You got another one to show us?
Well, I have a story which you're aware of. I emailed you and sent you the video I'd like you to play at some point of this.
Okay.
But so a couple of weeks ago, we were on a stream, a few of us on the Surface Noise B-side, and the You Discover Music 50% off sale came up. And I was like, all right, I'll check it out. So
which was all I could do to not click buy on my cart. I had like $1,000 worth of records in that cart. Every day I would wake up and go to it and hover over the buy button. I did not do it. I got through it. I was able to, it was like, dude, it was like coming down from like, I don't know what it's like to be on heroin, but it was like, that's how it felt, dude. I was like, but I didn't do it. I didn't do it.
Well, there was some stuff on there I couldn't resist and some stuff that I wanted to backfill. So I took the chance. So I bought 7 titles, 17 physical records over the 7 titles because I bought a few box sets. Of the 17, 15 were warped. And I don't mean warped like this is playable as is. I mean warped like, did someone buy this, melt it, bend it, put it back in the sleeve, send it back to You Discover, and then they decided to resell it to me. I was pretty pissed because I just felt like it was too good to be true. So I shared this with Spins and Jason R, some of the details. So I reach out to Universal. I go through the trouble of taking pictures of every record. This is one that's playing right now. I don't know if anybody would ever drop their needle on this, but this is just one example and probably mid-range example of a record So I email them, and of course I get like the standard customer service reply, and they got my arrogance in return and my pompous nature in return. They said, "Oh, it's probably just your turntable. Your turntable is probably defective." So with that comment, I sent a picture of a level to Spins citing my platter and my surface level being the only level thing in my life sometimes. So anyway, I go through the trouble of like taking all the pictures. They resolved my issue. Spoiler alert, they gave me a full refund. I'm not sending the records back, but most of these I cannot play. Some of them I'm salvaging with a flattener because some of them I really wanted. This one that's on the table I actually bought to gift to somebody else in the VC, and I can't even do that. It's not salvageable. But here's an example of like one I didn't flatten yet. I don't know if you guys will be able to really see this, but this is one of the discs in the Elvis Costello Armed Forces box set. And I think just on the camera, you can see this is basically going to be like a service bowl at a party of potato chips. And if you,
I just threw up a poll, by the way, guys, for this record we're looking at here, the warped record.
If you flip it around, you can see it's basically a big hump overall.
So it'll hold water for sure. That thing will hold water.
It will hold water.
In a pinch, you could catch rain in that thing and drink from it if you needed to.
So I've been going through like trying to flatten them. Some of them I have. One is questionable, but I have a second turntable that I'll play some of this stuff on if I really want to. It's not a big deal. But then the other deal breaker, I forgot to grab this.
That's okay. We'll just keep watching this warped.
One of the things I bought, which I held off on forever because I didn't want to spend the money on it, was this Velvet Underground Matrix tapes box set, which I was so psyched to get. So not only were most of those records absolutely destroyed, but this is insane. The inner sleeves on this are like nothing I've ever seen before. Here's one example when I opened the box, how the inner sleeve was.
Hold on, I gotta blow you up. We'll stop playing this. Just atrocious record that you got. Okay, hold on.
Just completely the inner. This is the inner sleeve. I just opened it and the record just fell out of it. That's one inner sleeve.
Wait, what is? Can you? What is it? What record is that?
Oh, this is the Velvet Underground Matrix tapes box set.
Wow, and they came from you Discover.
Yep. So all the inner sleeves, just all the glue is gone or half gone. That's it. So anyway, my whole point on this is that the only theory I have is that a lot of this stuff was produced in the height of the COVID craze. I think this box set came out in 2020, maybe 2021. Let's see. I'm sorry, 2019. So it was before that, actually.
Oh, wow.
I just can't fathom how I could order all of these records. And Jason knows I'm extremely picky, but when he saw the pictures and the videos I sent him, it was like nothing I've ever seen before. And
yeah, that's beyond being picky. I mean, it's
discouraging.
Yeah.
Right. No record weight, no stabilizer, no tone arm will be able to track these in a way that won't impact the sound quality. So sorry if I'm being repetitive on this, guys, but I have a flattener. That's the other thing too. You got to go through this painstaking process now of you can only flatten 2 or 3 records a day. There's another one from the Armed Forces box set. This one's a little less worse, but you can see. And when you put them on the platter, I mean, you're talking about a good, probably at least that much space. I'll go a little bit higher. At least, that much space. Just barely the label section sits. It's just a total dish. So I guess my question for the chat, I don't know if you can poll this or how we want to do it, but I want to know if I'm too picky because I feel like either I get all the warped records in the world or my standards are much too high. But I can tell you, of all the stuff I've ordered from Acoustic Sounds, I think I've returned 1 per warp in 6 years, 7 years.
So I'm going to throw up a poll on this, but you should know that 62% said that your video that we showed of the warped record would give that a grade of fair or poor.
Anybody say good?
Well, I didn't. I wanted to just read off the winner.
Oh, okay. Somebody said VG. That was probably Rojas.
If it was in the dollar bin, maybe. Sorry, I interrupted you, dude. Do you remember what you were saying?
No. I just feel like, I'm not saying I don't have records that have a slight warp that play fine, don't affect the playback, but I just can't stomach dropping my tone arm on something visually that looks like that, knowing it's just going to bounce around and probably fly off. It's certainly not sound too great. I just think it's unacceptable that the manufacturers just pump this stuff out and don't have better quality assurance on a lot of this, and it's discouraging. I return a lot of stuff, and I don't throw fits about it. I give the vendor the option, like, hey, this, I didn't ask them for a resolution. I said, here's everything that happened. Here's everything that I'm showing you.
Right. And just see what they come back with.
And they came back, we're going to escalate this to a supervisor. I'm like, okay, that's fine. They came back to me and said, we can send you replacements, or you could take the refund. And I was explicit. I was like, I'll take the refund, but I'm not selling you these. I'm not giving you these records back. They're like, yeah, we'll process the refund. I didn't want to send, because even if they sent me another one, I couldn't resell those to anybody.
So does that mean that I can look forward to another care box at some point? No, I'm just kidding.
Maybe. one of the records I got was for you. It's unplayable.
Oh God! Of course they would mess mine up.
Yeah. So.
Well, and so what about theories around the warps and stuff? I think everyone has their maybe have people thought about this when it comes to why are we getting warped records, especially newer. And a lot of it must have to do with like storage, right? Is it kind of, is that part of it? When they're still cooling off, they're like setting them sideways, or I don't know. Like, is it the way they're shipping them? They're storing them?
I know very little about the science of manufacturing records. Like, I've watched all the videos that people post, and it's cool. I don't know. Always want to know how the sausage is made. But my theory is kind of what you're saying, is that I think they're getting to a point where they're cranking these out so quickly. They probably have a percentage of the defect that's acceptable, right? To remain profitable.
A certain amount of returns must be acceptable for them.
And that's fine. But it's pretty egregious. And
what would you say the percentage of your returns are? Because I think that's a small sample size, but we can kind of use that data to say that would be the overall percentage of returns that company would receive, right? So if you said just use yourself as the test, what percentage would you say that you receive on new records that you have to return?
I would say 1 out of 4.
So 25%.
Yeah, and a lot of that
you're not alone, I'm sure.
A lot of that is skewed by Vinyl Me Please.
Okay.
But yeah, I think it's storage. I think they're cranking them out, throwing them in the sleeves, and whatever happens. I think it's a lot of that. I don't know if if it could happen in shipping. It seems a little bit weird to me. Oh, that's the other thing I didn't mention. So they pack, and this is shame on me. I should have done separate orders. I get this huge order. It's 2 box sets and 4 LPs. I got 2 LPs on the top. I get a Verve acoustic series record sandwiched between 2 box sets, and then another Verve acoustic series at the bottom of the stack. It was like a Big Mac. So maybe that contributed to it. But then I'm thinking, like, I ordered this on Sunday and it was at my house by Tuesday morning, so it's not going to warp in 48 hours in a box
in the winter and
so I don't know.
This is making me think of something. I'm sorry, but before I forget, I have kind of a reason for like asking. So it's like we said 25%. Let's say that you return 25%. Even if we were conservative on that, let's say like 20% they get returned, right? That they have to account for that money. So if you say it costs X amount of dollars to create a record, and you're saying we're allowing 20% returns, Where do you think they make up that money? By overcharging you.
Yes.
So the people that get a good record, they got to pay for all the crap that other people are, or you know what I mean? Like you're paying more for the privilege of having to return a record because it's not right.
I get it, but I also think that there's a lot of people who are casual. Like, see, we always come from the perspective of record nuts. There's a ton of people.
But if you're spending that kind of money, are you casual? You know what I mean?
No choice anymore. Well, if
you're buying UHQRs, you're not casual.
Well, my UHQRs come pretty good shape.
Okay, the UHQR. Maybe I'm sorry, I didn't mean to besmirch their name, but whatever.
No, but if a 12-year-old kid goes to Target and buys the new Taylor Swift and the new Bad Bunny,
Wu-Tang.
I don't even know, right? And those records are warped, and they go home and they play it on their Crosley or their, LP 60 or whatever it is they're using. They probably don't even care. So they're like, the manufacturer gets away with that, and that's fine. But like for people like us who are into it and bought a few records in their time, like I just don't see how that's acceptable. And so my point is, they're overcharging people, but then they're just banking on people not returning it. Or even worse, someone's like, oh, why would I buy a record? It comes broken. I'll just stream it.
The thing you're describing is worse because you have people that are just trying to get into the hobby and their first experience is bad. They're like, I don't know what all the hype is. They're going to go on and do something else. They're just going to stream it like you said. Let me just go. I got to quickly catch up here on comments. Listener of the Bizarre says, if warped and still plays with no sound distortion, I'd say G. I like how you think, listener. Very harsh on the grading, man. I agree, dude. You got to have a high standard. Cesar, that's why there's all these sales. They probably have tons in warehouse with no ace. Now, that's a good call, dude. I didn't even think about that. You said that was a 2019 record. That means that record's been sitting around who knows where for 6 years. So
shame on me.
That's a bad call. Yeah, Elliot, it's hard to see from the camera. I did play a video though, Elliot, that was showing some pretty terrible warpage. Cesar, you have bad luck, Chris. That's unacceptable. That's why anything new, I just do Amazon, easy to return. However, I will say other people in our group have had similar experiences. Warped records equals G, ain't nothing but a G thing. Thank you, Rojas. Appreciate you. Records aren't cheap new, so you should demand mint. Yes, absolutely perfect. Wyoming Dave, perfect prescription vinyl community. Exactly. Yes. Okay. In full agreement. Concurs wholeheartedly, does Wyoming Dave. Have you ever gotten a record that plays with the tone arm moving back and forth rapidly? I have a near mint visually Tom Waits Bastards that does that. Clicks for a while also, but moves the whole time, says Elliot. Wow. Yeah, I'd be kind of scared of that.
That's an RSD press.
But sometimes they can be pressed off-centered. And if that's an older record of the Tom Waits, if that's like older, it could, I don't know if this has been corrected. I know I've heard some stories that this kind of problem can't occur now with the way they press the records and stuff. But in the day, you could get like an off-centered, and yeah, your stylus is going to be moving back and forth as it's playing.
Well, that Tom Waits has got to be, if it's the RSD one, it's a 2017 or 2018.
Okay, so that's a more that's a more recent.
Yeah, it's a more current, but it's an RSD pressing, so it probably was cranked out, and
Yeah. Shane, return should be made easy. Stand behind your product. Absolutely, 100%. I mean, everybody, doesn't matter who you are. Like if you're trying to be a seller, you got to take I say the good with the bad, but that's just part of it, right? Cesar is in agreement with something I said. I don't know what it was, but I'll take it. Mad Vinyl, what's up? Thanks for being here. Appreciate you. Cesar says, I see your point, Chris. They're not making records for us nuts, but for everyone. And the majority is probably what you just described. Elliot says it isn't an older record, but thinking it might be an off-center issue. Okay, interesting. I've heard that too. Remember we had an argument. I don't know if you were there, Chris, but on Service Noise where a couple people were really, I don't think I think it was before you came on. There was an argument about whether it was possible in a modern pressing plant to press a record off center. Either the hole was off centered, something, and there
Of
was some
course.
dispute about that. But and I don't know enough about pressing, modern pressing machines to be able to speak on this intelligently. But I mean, the proof is in the pudding. If someone's buying new records and the things are off centered, then obviously it's possible. Okay, is it my turn?
Yeah.
I'm going to show this thing. This is one I was talking about earlier where I went ahead and accepted a partial refund just because of what it is. As a jazz nut and even a big band nut, and kind of going back to the very beginning, some people might know who Fletcher Henderson is. Fletcher Henderson did some of the big compositions back in the early days of classic jazz and big band stuff. He did a lot of the writing. Let me switch to here. So this is kind of the one to get, A Study in Frustration. This one came in a box, which is, the box is completely beat up. The top is ripped off it and everything, whatever. I don't care about that as much. It's a multiple LP set, and I think 4 LPs. The first 3 were fine. I did inspect these as soon as I got it. I get to the 4th LP, and these are cool. They're on the 6i Columbias. But I go to the very last side. So side 2 of record 4 looks like that. And that is a massive gouge. That's like somebody took their ring and just went nuts on it, or I don't even know what. That is if you can hear that. Yeah, that's called a feelable scratch right there. Would never put a stylus on this. So I messaged the guy. I'm like, yeah, dude, unfortunately, the last record is the side B is just a garbage. Every other side is like minty. But for some reason, this one just, I don't know, somebody set it on something or whatever. So he goes, well, there's 4 records. Is it fair if I refund you for one of them? At the time, I was like, you know what? Yeah, whatever. How many times am I going to listen to this? I kind of just, I want it. I want to be able to hear it when I want to hear it. Whatever. It was fine. This is a few years ago. You raised a good point, Chris, and it's one that I tend to sometimes forget, which is, what about resale? Now, this isn't a pricey record. Who cares? When I go, this thing is going to a thrift store probably, right? This is not going to be one of the ones that I try to sell on Whatnot or whatever. I don't know if there's a point. I mean, really, we just were sharing horror stories. And so when I saw that, I'm going through, I'm like, oh man, these are so clean. These are so clean. And I get to side B of that last one, and I'm like, no, I should have just got a refund and bought another one. But anyway, so there you go. It happens. Obviously, whoever sold this did not expect every record. I get it. It's a Fletcher Henderson box. Like, most people aren't going to go play grade these. But anyway,
Well,
that's my. What would you grade that, Chris?
It's tough because there's 4. So it's like it's VG until the E, until the end. I could tell you whoever sold that was hungry. If you look at the rip they took out of the top of the box.
Oh yeah, they were there for sure.
Record.
For sure. By the way, it's got to let you know that 79% of people saying that you are not picky, but that does mean that 21% think you are picky.
Yeah. Well, those 21% could take a hike. All right, no, I'm just kidding.
Hey, no, don't say that.
No,
you guys are valid either way. Okay.
So what's 21% of 14 is 3 people. So we got Rojas for 1 who thinks I'm too picky. We got to find out.
So we know Rojas is 1. I don't know about Concert Buddy. Maybe he's, I'm not sure if he's in a bad mood today or what, but
I think in VC Cahoots,
he might have dinged you for the other one.
Yeah. Well, it's good to know, but we got to take a stand. And Spins, I have a bone to pick with you, a friendly bone to pick with you, but you got to start out in these sellers, man. You got to look out for everybody. Let's start revealing screen names.
Oh, start revealing names. Okay. Well, a lot of the stuff happened so long ago. I don't even know, dude. But yeah, I can't do that.
How convenient. How convenient.
Yeah. All right. Maybe we'll do that one on Patreon. We'll name names.
The JFK assassination was 60 years ago. I just can't remember. Sure.
Sure, you can't remember. Oh, that's funny, dude.
That was me voted. Yeah, of course, Cesar, my man.
All right, while we're at it, let me just check what we got here. Elliot then said, some of Bessie Smith's best work was done with Fletcher Henderson in a small combo setting. Yeah, I'm not getting to, I guess I'm not sharing a lot about the Fletcher Henderson because it's not top of mind for most people. But yeah, it's fantastic. I got it because I love that stuff. And he's very much an important person in the lineage of jazz. Most people aren't going to care. But yeah, I love that, dude. I love that you know that. That's awesome. That about $10 box set. I don't, you know what? I bet you I paid more than that. But yeah, it's probably about what that's worth. I may have paid about that. Yeah. Should have knocked half price off, just refund it. Yeah, honestly, yeah, it was kind of a weird. Well, I'll give you 25% off since it's only one record. And what's worse, I can't say it was bad on his part because I accepted it. So, who's the real nut here? Cesar voted yes, absolutely. There it is. No, he's joking, but yeah, there you go, man. Cesar too. Jason voted yes, but we knew that, Jay.
Come on.
He just can't let you have the 100%, right? You got to jump in there.
No,
you got to knock him down. Chris, his head will get too big, man. All right.
As it isn't already.
Anything else to share? I mean, I was gonna have some fun and just kind of show some jackets just to see what people thought of them. But do you have anything else? If you don't have anything else, well, first of all, do you have anything else that you want to show on camera?
No, I'm really in a bad mood now. I had to revisit this. It really consumed me for a couple of days. And because it consumed me, it consumed you. It consumed Rojas.
God,
it probably consumed Arnaldo a little bit because I just had to tell everybody how disappointed I was in my buying experience.
Misery loves company.
That's right, baby. That's the motto of the VC.
Well, you should be happy. That's part of this show is that you can kind of vent it out, man, and then you can move on with life.
True.
For the next time you are a sucker to the You Discover Club. Yeah. All right, let's do this one. Club. The new Warped Club. Warped
show that video again. Let's show that video again. While all
right, for those that didn't see it, he wants to wallow in his sorrows a little more. Okay, let's get it.
It's only 7 seconds.
It's only 7. Yeah, but I had it on a loop earlier. All right, so here's what happened to Chris right here. Straight from, and he doesn't mind naming names. So I'm not speaking out of turn by saying this was from who, Chris?
You Discover.
You Discover. There it is. Ready? Boom.
Whoop, 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 whoop. Man.
Yeah, and look at that nice turntable, man. You don't want to set that stylus on this thing. That stylus looks like it was made by NASA, if I want to be honest.
It might have been. Also, I had to stop the turntable because in about 3 seconds this thing was going to fly away. It's not drones infiltrating the U.S. It's warped records flying off turntables that's infiltrating the U.S. right now.
It's a good thing that wasn't a 45 RPM. Then we could have had some real damage.
Could have been a casualty. I might not be here right now. This is a serious problem.
Oh, God, don't joke about that, dude. All right, so there it is, guys. All right, let me show one here, and then we're going to move to we'll augment our discussion slightly. But I want to show one more. This has to do with jackets. I'm going to throw the poll up. We'll just show this for a second. How would you grade this? I know a lot of people are going to jump ship now that I hate silence. I freak out every time it gets quiet.
No, it's okay. Cesar, say something controversial in the chat so we can break the
Rojas is still here, right? Don't be too controversial, Rojas, but you could say something to wake us up. All right, here it is. So something like this, a nice record, nice jacket. The inner sleeve is there. Beautiful inner sleeve from Japan. The jacket is very nice. I'm going to cover up something here. The record is clean, but taped to the front of it is this Braille strip, which I don't know if that really shows up well, but that's what that is. That is a strip of Braille, which probably says, I don't know, I can't read Braille, but I'm guessing it says the Bruce Forman Quartet, Full Circle featuring Bobby Hutcherson or something like that. It's taped on there. Now, good for whoever was sight impaired and did this. This isn't the only one I've seen, and they can still listen to their music. How else would you know what this is, right? So it's good from that sense, but then it ended up in my collection. How would you grade that? Otherwise, a fantastic record. First of all, would you try to peel the tape off?
I don't know. It depends. Is that
It's like
Is that one of
yellowed
those?
now.
Is that one of those glossy covers?
Like
with
no, this is a very much a matte finish. That is not a glossy cover.
I might try.
It does cover up some of the artwork. If you go to sell this, how are you going to grade this record, dude? At least the jacket.
And for novelty.
And for novelty. You charge more for it, right? You think about it, it's a feature, not a what do they call it? It's a feature, not a bug. But anyway, I needed this record.
Did you know it was on there when you bought it?
You know, I got it. I didn't. It was in the description. I didn't see it.
Okay, so this goes back to buyer responsibility.
Man, yeah, this is definitely for sure. This is not the seller's fault. No. But I just wonder, like, but how does that impact the price for you? If you have this in your collection, I know you would never have something like this. You would never stoop this low, Chris. I get it, dude. We all get it.
Bobby Hutcherson.
We all get it.
That's not
You're
true.
too good for this, dude.
That's not true. I have some of my parents' records, and my mom put those old mailing stickers. She put her name on the corner with her name and address.
With the address and everything.
I'm like, wow, this is a first pressing of Yellow Brick Road. Now I don't love Elton John, but I gotta live with the idea that I have a first pressing of it and it has your goddamn address on it, Ma. What are you doing?
How she doesn't know you like we do. Well, hey, didn't Michael Fremer used to write his name? Because records would, exchange hands, and you want to make sure it ends up back at the Fremer house before, he's not going to allow for that. So I think some of his older college records and stuff he shows have his name in them, don't they?
And
is that blasphemy, Chris?
It's a different time. They couldn't fast forward to know these were going to be collectibles. They had no idea those would even go away for a small time and come back with resurgence. So
having said that,
it's just like baseball cards in the bike tires. Like how many Mickey Mantle rookie cards were in your dad's or granddad's bike when he was riding around, like just getting chewed up. Like it just wasn't thought of then.
Yeah. Elliot, I'm not sure if you're talking about this record. I didn't see when this came up. It doesn't bother Elliot a bit. It gives it character. I kind of think that too. It's kind of, it's whatever. I mean, when I saw that, I never thought about that before. I don't know how many other people have seen that, but I was like, that makes total sense. That there would be records with Braille on them.
100%.
Oh, no tape. That's a VG just because of that, says Cesar. Hola, Vinyl and Kicks. Thanks for being here.
I'm going to give it a G just because it's Bobby Hutcherson.
Bro,
I'm just messing with you.
I'm losing you. I'm losing. Hey, dude, are you still there?
You know I don't mean that. I don't mean that.
I know. Okay. All right. Well, so I thought we could go into, what did I think we were going to go into? So another thing I was thinking, and I kind of touched on this, and I don't know, you can tell me if you want to get into this or not, but when it comes to most of us are buying records online, I think it's safe to say, not everyone, but I think Discogs gets a lot of play, right? I mean, a lot of people are buying records off Discogs. Discogs does not show pictures of records. They don't have that service. There's no, that you grade the cover and then let you grade the record. Everything else is like, you got to put it in the description, as far as I know, right? You got to enter in, does it have the inner sleeve? Does it have the shrink wrap? Does it have a hype sticker? Does it have the inserts? Whatever. Here's my plea. What if there were check boxes for some of this stuff? It was filterable. I could filter it. If I'm looking for a 1984 with the jump sticker on it, Van Halen, I can just hit a box and it's just going to show me everything with the hype stickers. It's 2025. Why are we living like savages? We're living like savages, dude.
This is a great topic, and this is a sore spot for me. So I don't know. Did you get any kind of notification from Discogs like a year and a half, 2 years ago about the advisory board?
Yeah, I couldn't remember all the details, but yeah, I did get something like that.
So I participated in the survey, and somebody from their development group did like a Zoom with me. And I probably didn't get selected. Yeah, I probably didn't get selected because some of the comments I made, they're probably like, this guy's out. But I said to them, I said,
Which, by the way,
So-
they're in my neck of the woods. I live in the Portland area. That's where they are. So
I'm coming out there. Heard me
if you ever come
Discogs
out here,
anyway.
we'll have to make a special trip.
So let me put that aside for 1 second. So eBay allows you to do pictures and all of that stuff. However, Discogs doesn't have that. But what Discogs allows that eBay doesn't is personal communication. So half the sales I've made or purchases, I've asked for pictures or audio samples or given audio samples. If you do that on eBay, you get flagged for sharing your personal information because you're kind of circumventing the system. At least Discogs isn't policing that portion of it where you can exchange with people personally. But I made the same suggestion as you. I think that sealed records should be their own category underneath the grading, right? Because no one knows.
Right.
It's a sealed record. It's a buyer beware. You don't know what you're going to get when you open it up, right? It could be fine. It could be warped if it's from Universal, whatever the case may be. Hype stickers in the shrink, those should all be drop downs or options that you can filter on, check boxes. And I said that to them, and they're like, "Oh, that's a really interesting idea." But I think more people want that. Like I always say on mine, I usually take it out of the shrink, but I save all my hype stickers. So
Yeah.
I'll cut the hype sticker out and I'll slide it in the sleeve. And I always say hype sticker included, not attached or whatever. And then I say like I replaced the inner sleeve, but the original inner sleeve's available, all that stuff. All of that really should be categorized because to your point, it's two things. Number one, you might be looking for it, but number two, you might have 3 VG plus Van Halen 1984s. Now you're messaging 3 people. Does it have the hype sticker?
It's just
put it
way more work that way. When it could
put it
just be
there.
a freaking, like you said, a drop down or a checkbox
So-
or whatever.
They don't learn from each other. Like there's no doubt. I would venture to say, first of all, I think more people buy records on eBay than Discogs.
Okay.
Because I know I simultaneously list things and it flies off eBay at a higher price. I always list it higher on eBay. It flies
Probably
off
for
eBay at a
that
higher
reason,
price.
right? Because you can post photos and stuff.
Possibly.
Do you think? Or
Yeah,
do you
but
think
why-
they just get more traffic, obviously?
They might
too?
get more traffic, or more people might just be buying records that don't have a Discogs account. I would think that's the other thing. But why wouldn't
Okay.
Discogs be stealing from eBay all of the great things they have?
Yeah.
All the details that you can kind of fill out. I know that people create records in the database, and that's a whole nother ball game. But at least when you're selling, you should be able to pinpoint some of that stuff, like the features you're talking about. Is it a reissue? I know that's in the link in the entry on Discogs, but still, just to quickly filter on that, hype sticker, poster included, promo items included. How many times are you looking for a record that has some kind of insert? Some of the Funkadelic stuff I've looked for, I know they come with comic books and cutouts. Like, I don't know if they have it. So I got to message
I mean,
the person.
a Kiss Love Gun is probably going to be one of the big ones, right? It's like,
Right.
does it have the Love Gun insert? Yeah.
Dark Side of the Moon posters, Bob Dylan
Yes.
Greatest Hits poster, all that stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's a great ad, and I felt the same when I talked to them, but they didn't think I was.
Well, so they started out, because you mentioned it, right? They started out as a resource for a library, basically, right? It's a catalog, a database of every record and pressing. Then they created their marketplace, right? So it's like, when's the last time you saw a technical upgrade to Discogs or a feature upgrade? And that's an honest question. I don't remember. Maybe I just
a few weeks ago they changed some stuff on the collection tab. Makes it a little bit more modern, a little bit more. They probably. I'm not an IT person, technical person, but they changed something in the coding where it's just a smoother interface now. Do people even say interface anymore? I don't even know. It's just a smoother experience. There's the sorting and filtering isn't as laggy, and you can do some stuff. But they're really, but see, like all their enhancements seem so secretive. Like if you're not on the message boards and in the community, like you don't really know that a feature enhancement has come out. So there's been some upgrades, but nothing. I use it very basically. Look, I find my record. I put my record in my collection. I make sure I have the right version. I make my little notes, my personal notes on it, and then I go sell a record or buy a record. I don't use any other. And sometimes if I want comic relief, I read the comments. But
I just wonder if there's an issue with their code that is making it difficult for them to add some of these features that people want. Because I haven't seen anything different necessarily. I could be wrong. Again, if I'm being 100% honest, I don't think I've ever even sold a record on Discogs. But as a person that buys frequently from Discogs, I haven't really noticed any big changes. So it just kind of makes me ask the question, and I could be wrong. That's why I asked the question. Is there some technical issue? Is there something up with, and having been a software engineer and knowing what this code could potentially look like, it could be very difficult for them to like make certain changes without like blowing everything else up. So maybe they don't want to touch certain parts of the code. I don't know. I heard
Well,
someone had said that they were hiring people maybe to resolve some of these issues. I don't know.
they were. I saw a job posting on their newsletter or whatever, but I'm not knocking them for it because they have to be profitable, right? They started off as a resource, and it transformed into or transitioned into an additional feature. It's not
Yeah.
like they said we're going to be a seller in a marketplace. It was kind of, super glued together to make that happen. So it's not a terrible resource at
No,
all.
no, 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 no.
It's more of, you can make it a little bit more modernized. Everybody wants data at their fingertips in a quick and easy fashion. You're not otherwise you just go to the record store and thumb through stuff to look for it.
Well, and that's another thing, another side effect with being someone, an engineer, is that you tend to you notice problems a lot more because you're looking for them, and you think about the solution, how difficult it would be, bless you. And you're like,
Thank you.
bro, just add this stupid feature, because I've done that before, for other big companies. So
Yeah.
I'm probably more attuned to that stuff. It's not a criticism necessarily. It's a nice to have stuff. That's all I'm talking about. It would just be nice to have some of that stuff. Cesar, why would you write your name on a jacket? No excuse. Shane says, similar to Noble Records, Voice of America collection albums, maybe VG Plus, but have a writing or tape on them.
Well, that's a radio station thing though, right? That's
Oh,
on the
right.
radio
And
station's
I have some of
catalog.
those. Yeah.
Yeah. Those are kind of cool. That's kind of that's one cool thing. Like couple where I live, there's in the tri-state area, there's a lot of local radio stations and college stations that liquidate their overstock to record stores. So you go in and you get, 90.7 promo copy, and it's like masking tape and like their like specified catalog number. That's kind of cool, but that's more of a localized thing, I think.
Right. And that can tell you a little something about how that record was cared for. Like,
Yeah.
how often was this played, depending on the title. I've had
Sure.
records that come from that came out of holy shit, what were we just talking about?
Radio stations.
Music radio stations. That seemed like they were never even played.
Well, when you go to WFMU, hopefully you come out next fall. The first table they have is a WFMU table, and it's swamped because it's inexpensive. But I guess I didn't really thumb through that. It was just too overwhelming. I kind of went off on my own. But I guess they have a lot of that promo stuff there that probably was virtually never played.
I'm just creating another poll here. So, and this is in response to Vinyl and Kicks 86 wants to know, what do you guys do with the shrink wrap? And I'm going to do a poll right here real quick for it.
Tear it off.
Keep it or toss it. Boom. There we go. Poll done. So yeah, let's find out. I wonder what you guys think about that. It's a good question, dude. If I'm being honest, like I love shrink if it's not too tight and it's on an older record, and especially if it has a hype sticker, I'm not going to mess with it. Like I have I mentioned Van Halen 1984 with the jump hype. I have that. It's not uncommon or anything, but it's cool. Like I like having it. I'm never going to take that shrink wrap. But if I get a record from like almost any new record with a modern hype sticker, it's coming off.
You don't save it?
I mean, I save it. If it's something that's generic, I don't save it.
I like to save them.
If it's something that's, kind of cool or different or specific to that record, I might save it. Do you make an effort to get record?
Sometimes it helps me identify if it's like part of a series or something.
That's true. That's true.
I just cut it out and either slide it in the shrink or slide it in the inner sleeve just so I know. Especially by like multiple pressings of stuff, but I get it. It's kind of a nuisance.
Vinyl and Kicks 86 also says way easier to sell on eBay than on Discogs. There you go. Pro tip.
100%.
Elliot says, I never bought a record on eBay. Don't even know how to look for what I want on there. Discogs makes it easy. So that's the flip side of it, is that eBay allows sellers to show pictures of the records. However, it's not going to be specific to a pressing necessarily, right? I mean, in Discogs, you have to go to that pressing to sell it, I would imagine, right? So you're selling it
You
under.
should be.
It should be. And it's not always right. You know, I've gotten records that weren't the right pressing and stuff, but on eBay, you know, you don't know. Oftentimes they're not posting matrix codes and stuff, probably.
Well, it depends. Like, I think you're going to get more consistent reliability on Discogs, but on eBay, from personal experience, I've bought records from people who knew nothing about records, and it was fantastic. And then I bought records from people who know nothing about records, and I had a bad experience.
Yeah,
But like,
right.
like I had I forgot what box set I bought. Some person had it sealed, and I messaged them. I'm like, why is this so cheap if it's sealed? It was in actually the it wasn't only like factory sealed, but it was sealed in the shipping box that it would come in with, like
Yeah.
you could see the outside. It was sort of custom to the record label. And the kid's like, my ex-girlfriend got this for me. Like, I just want to get rid of it. I'm like, okay, you have a return policy? He's like, yep. I'm like, instant buy. And that was like awesome, because I got it for pennies on the dollar for what I should have paid for it. So like, you do find that on Discog, on eBay. But then on the flip side, you could have somebody say, and this goes back to buyer responsibility. This is a first pressing of Chuck Berry's Cherry on Top or whatever. I forgot the name of the record. And then you get it. It's like a Friday music reissue. You're like, dude, it's red. They didn't make red vinyl in 1950, whatever. So you just got to be cognizant of. You can find, what I'm trying to say is, you can find really good opportunities on eBay if you dig accordingly.
Right.
And also there's the auctions. You know this from your Whatnot experience, Jason. A lot of the auctions on eBay don't have a reserve price. So if no one's paying attention to it, or it's listed with lack of details, you could really make out and find something, well below market value too.
So I didn't mean to call you out, but you said they didn't make colored vinyl back in the day.
Oh, is that Fantasy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Fantasy put out these, right? These are two different Dave Brubeck records. One's green, one's red. Just
so everybody knows, I don't know anything about records, so my apologies.
No, I shouldn't have did that, dude. But I just thought it was funny.
No, it's fine. I was just using an extreme example. But.
Yeah, absolutely. Crap. I was gonna say something else now. I'm like brain farting all over the place. Let me just do this. So yeah, 64% people saying keep the shrink. Of course, keep it. But that means 36% don't care.
It goes away anyway. It degrades. It,
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm also a nerd, though. I have a whole ritual. We've talked about inner sleeve, new inner sleeve. Everything's got the same outer, and so I don't like to keep the shrink. Plus, it takes up a lot of room, believe it or not.
Well, I don't want to speak for Chance, but I know he has kind of a ritual for that too, where I think he reattaches it to the outer sleeve or something, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know if you're still here, Chance, but I think he'll remove it, try to actually remove the hype and attach it to remove the shrink, I think, and then attach that hype sticker to the outer sleeve, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Discogs still can't be sorted by ratings. Another thing I wish they could do, what I find myself doing most on Discogs, and I don't know if you can relate to this, but let's say I'm looking for a record. Well, an example would be like the Byrds. I'm trying to rebuild my Byrds collection. I just picked one up in the wild, actually, the other day. But so I'm like, okay, there's like 4 Byrds records I want. If I could find one seller that had at least one or more than one, then it'd be better. I can save on shipping, right? There's no easy way to do that.
You got to.
I wish you got to dig. You got to find one, go to that seller, search to see if they have another one. No, they don't have that title. So go to the next one. See, it'd be great if you could filter by seller. In other words, if there was multiple layers of filtering, like I can find the title I want and then, sort by which, I don't know. This is getting crazy, but that is something where I actually tried to get Chat GPT to help me with, because I'm like, how can I automate this, man? Because it's like, so many times I don't want to pay shipping 2 or 3 times for the stuff if I can avoid it. And something like that, I'll bet you there are sellers that have multiple Birds records, but there's no easy way to like, you got to go one seller at a time and all that stuff. I'm being
So
totally nitpicky now, but I'm just saying.
no, but you're talking about a catalyst for the transaction, which is what they should be promoting,
Yeah.
right? So I one of my New Year's resolutions, like we talked about, was for me to wipe my want list and like really build one consciously. I think you can indirectly get there if you have it in your want list. It'll actually, it might say seller has other items on your want list, and it'll link you to those titles. But I could be wrong about that. So if you put those 4,
But they're like semi-random though, right? It does show like a list of other
yeah.
stuff that they have that you might be interested in, but it's not usually the same artist.
I don't know.
I don't think so.
I have to experiment with it. Like I said, I just wipe mine clean.
Yeah.
I rebuild it.
Well,
So.
even on the on your cart, it'll show that. So like if you have something in
really?
your cart, yeah, below that it'll be a list too. That'll show other titles. So they do it. I just don't know what their algorithm is or how they're doing that.
It's just a sort and filter in the database. I don't know why they wouldn't be able to figure that out.
Yeah, there's so many things. Ratings are listed as a sort option, but does not work, says Shane. Cesar definitely like keeping the shrink if it has a hype sticker. Vinyl kicks, I keep the shrink unless it is gatefolded. That's another thing. I'm glad you brought that up because that's something I forgot to say that I wanted to say is that, yeah, if I have a gatefold, what about, so you're not keeping the shrink anyway. I mean, you're not keeping the shrink on the record, right, Chris? Either way. That is something where.
I have those special gatefolds though.
Oh, that's right. Sleeves. That's right. Yeah, if it's in a gatefold, the shrink comes off no matter what, because otherwise you can't see, whatever art is going on there.
Yeah.
I know what I was gonna say. This is going back to what. Hang on one sec. Inexperienced sellers, and Chris said it can be good, it can be bad. Like 5 years ago or something, I was I wanted to replace anything that was in my Grateful Dead collection that wasn't OG. I wanted to get an OG for it, and one of them was the this one right here, which is their debut. And most people that are into the Dead will know you got to have the gold label right there. Although this has been reissued with the gold label, and so it's got the same jacket, it's got the same gold label. But it's not, if you see this on eBay, it'd be easy to get confused and think, if you don't know, then you'll be like, oh, that looks just like the jacket. That's got to be an original, right? It's got a gold Warner Brother label on it. And it's got the, the same jacket art. Even some of the numbers on the back and stuff are very similar. So I look at it and I'm scrutinizing this sucker like in major detail. I'm looking at every corner, and there was actually pretty decent photos on it. But there was no like, this is a first pressing or anything like that. So, I'm looking at pictures on Discogs. I'm coming back to eBay. And so I go, I forget what I asked. I asked one question that seemed like it was going to be a differentiator. Part of it was that the white around the border was just slightly off white to where it just seemed a little aged to me. That was literally the only thing I had to go on. Kind of like this Hendrix one right here, where it's kind of got a cream color now to it. That was what I went on. She was asking like 10 or 15 bucks. I'm like, you know what? I'll just take a chance on it. Whatever. If it's not an OG, I'll just keep it and upgrade it later. But it came and it was an original. And I was just like, yes.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's worth kind of taking that risk because I don't even want to say you could get burned because you can normally just return it. But sometimes looking for those situations where maybe the person doesn't just deal in records, maybe they just sell secondhand stuff, and you'll find clothing, you'll find toys and records. Sometimes you can find something that other people may not trust. There might be turnoffs for some people where if you can slide in on some of that stuff, you can get a good deal. So that's kind of what happened there.
Agree. Imagine somebody who doesn't know anything trying to explain to them to read a matrix number.
Exactly.
Or, like they're just going to be like, whatever, just give me $10.
Exactly.
I see it at thrift stores. Same thing in bookstores that sell records. They just price them.
Right.
roll it out. That's why like the digging is still there if you really find the right places.
Yep. Another one this is making me think of is I bought some guy was selling, again, this is going back like 5 or 6 years, but he was selling a lot of 3 OG Thelonious Monk records. And these were good records. These were some of the, some pricey Riverside, pricier records. And they were super clean, except he was selling them damaged because they had like oil or something on the grooves. And one of them, when I bought them because they were so cheap. It was a handprint, and it was literally like you see 4 fingers. I swear you could use this to like figure out exactly who owned this record. And then the other side was the thumbprint. Somebody must have had like, I'm talking about oil, or like it looked like a mechanic grabbed it after changing the oil in their car. I got a fix for that, dude. I tried everything. I was like, I have nothing to lose. I used some like organic degreaser on it. I left it overnight. I did all this stuff, and they sounded amazing when I was done, dude. I felt like I had won the lottery. But that's just another thing where a lot of people are going to avoid that, right? They're going to be like, how are you going to get that off? I took a chance on it, and I'm very happy that I did, because it actually worked out in that case.
Well, you know what Rojas would say?
What would Roadhouse say?
Just put it in the humdinger.
Put it in the humdinger, dude. Why didn't I think of that?
You should send that one to Brandon. You should send those Monk records to Brandon.
In fact, I don't even have them anymore. But yeah,
Oh, man.
I picked them up since then. I have another copy, but yeah, actually, that was pretty miraculous. Cesar says if you keep the records in the jacket, then maybe removing the shrink for some records can be a good idea, so it's not too tight to pull them out. Yeah, that's a whole other issue, right? Although, see, my thing is I don't keep my records in the sleeves. That's a whole nother. I should do a poll on that.
Oh.
How many people don't separate their record from their jacket and just put the record right back in there?
I don't have the room.
You do it because of room. Okay.
Yeah, I can't. I get they all have breathing room, but I can't.
Yeah.
I did it. I started doing it, and like when I started scaling out, I'm like, this can't happen.
You're like, yeah, this is not going to work.
I'm like, this is unfortunate.
In the future, the shrink will start to fall apart. Yeah. And then if it gets a tear on it and stuff, it just looks terrible. Like if I get a record that's like, oh, it's in the shrink, and it arrives and it's like half torn off, I'm like, come on, it just looks way worse. Elliot Cruz, I've seen autographed copies of Patsy Cline records that were pressed in the 70s on eBay. Buyer beware. Okay, there you go. No sign. I'd be really wary about buying anything with an autograph unless it has like really good provenance, just because so many people fake those. There's a report that like over 50% of every signed piece of sports memorabilia is not authentic.
100%.
Just because there were some guys that there was a whole show on it of a dude that could sign everyone's photograph just perfectly. And they were just doing this stuff they would just send them 8x10s. They would send bats to his house. They would send gloves, cards. He spent his whole day just signing all this stuff until he got caught. And they were cleaning up.
That was some guy did that with Jordan. There was a thing on ESPN about it.
Yeah.
Remarkable. And that was even crazier because Jordan never signed anything, and he had the contract with Upper Deck. So it was like, where's all this coming from?
Yeah, autographs are a sketchy thing, unfortunately. So Constant Brady does chime in. Yes, I have to can remove the hype from the shrink. I do it. Yeah.
Does he have a video on that? Because
that seems difficult, man. Are you breaking out the blow dryer and stuff for that, or does they just come off? I don't know. I guess I've never really tried it.
That's
Elliot, however, coming right up as if he just knew I was going to ask this question sometime in the future, said, yes, you can usually take the sticker off and put it on the outer sleeve. Sometimes it doesn't work, so you have to cut it out. Cesar says, shame on you, Chance. You got to keep it how it came. OG. Wyoming says, all the albums I've gotten from Walmart. I like keeping those hype stickers that advertise the colored vinyl. Very cool. Very cool. Oops, let me fix my camera quickly. Ooh, that means we've been talking for too long. Anytime that happens. Oh, come on. Boom. We're back in business. Okay. Concert Buddy, BMG are the easiest hype stickers to remove off present day titles. Elliot Cruz, you often see overpricing at the thrift shops. They only have a superficial knowledge and think all LPs are worth a fortune. Check my video for the one time. Yeah, this was in Portland. I made a video of it and I picked up like 30 records from a thrift store. First time this is only time it's ever happened to me. For like $3 a piece. And there was like first pressings of The Wall. It was like a white wax German pressing of Jerry Garcia's first record. It was a ton of stuff and it was all in good condition, dude. I couldn't believe it. And it was like middle of the day. It wasn't even like when they were just opening or something. Anyway, I tell the story in my thrift store video. Check that out. But yes, that's like an impossible. That's probably the only time that'll ever happen. Vinyl Kicks, does the Humdinger have issues with removing oil from records? Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I'd put that in the Humdinger.
A little surfactant to be all right.
That only works on deep scratches. And never try to politely explain that the records are way overpriced. They don't want to hear it. Might never sell any, but who knows? Patsy Cline died in the 60s. So yeah, so if it looks like it's anything newer, I would avoid it. All right. What else, Chris?
I've really enjoyed a lot of people. Elliot coming in with a lot of great comments tonight. I hope Vinyl and Kicks goes back and watch the beginnings. I think he'll have a lot to say. Cesar, of course. Just awesome participation tonight.
Yeah, you guys are the best, man.
Out, but I'm
Cesar, Wyoming Dave, Jason, Chance, Brandon. Thanks everyone for weighing in today, man. Really appreciate it.
Whoever that Groove Seeker guy is, though, he's got to get.
He keeps messing up the chat, dude. Just go away.
There was my favorite name though that I saw. Oh, and I've seen his channel just recently. I have to subscribe to it. OJCs.
Yeah, who's OJCs? Is he here?
That's awesome.
That is cool. I love that.
Peace, Chance.
Cesar is still here. All right, Chance. Thanks, brother. Appreciate you. What do you think, man? I mean, I don't want to wrap this up. I could go on forever, but we've been doing this for 2 hours already. So,
well, I think this was a VG plus stream graded conservatively. So,
I would say VG plus, maybe even excellent. But I tend to overgrade. So,
make sure you guys like and subscribe to Spin's Vinyl channel. He's doing wonderful things, and he's going to be back Thursday night with an episode of Surface Noise, the B-side. You guys got to tune into him. I'm sure some of this might carry over.
Yeah. Some fun stuff planned for B-side on Thursday. We will go live at same time, 8:00 Central. And Chris will be there too. So that'll be awesome. And then Chris and I will be back at it again. Gluttons for the punishment that we are, going live every single Monday. We will be back again next Monday.
Let us know some things you guys might want us to wax poetic on. We're trying to make this a little bit more open and free form so you guys can participate. So as I say that, for listener of the bizarre, you're talking to the wrong guy about punk and or metal. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I could do. I just did a video with Mr. Hall of Fame himself, the OG Brandon, that I just posted this morning. It's on. It's going to be hip hop, old school hip hop. So if you're into that, that's a fun one. We talk about a lot of different records coming out of like between 83 and 93. And the last one we did was more about R&B, electro funk, soul music. So that's a fun one too. So we're trying to do some stuff between all of us that are kind of like focused in on certain genres. And I'm sure Chris and I will do one too. Maybe Chris and I and Brandon will do one. Who knows? What was I going to say? Yeah. So metal, I could definitely do one on metal, but probably not so much on punk. I know what I was going to say. Somebody asked about hip hop reissue stuff. They may have left a comment on the hip hop video that I just dropped, and it was a good call because I don't know if hip hop gets the we don't have to get into this here, but just the tease, maybe a future video. Who knows? Maybe Chris will be in on it. Does hip hop get the reissue love that a lot of other genres get? Because I've heard a lot of complaints about you'd way rather have the OG than to have the reissue. I got a few hip hops, OGs and reissues. I know Chris does too. So In fact,
I was interpreting your question a little bit differently from my agenda, but I feel like there's a lot lacking in the marketplace. There's a lot of classic hip hop that's not available on wax. It should be, or
yeah,
if it
there's
is,
that
it's like a
too.
record
Yeah.
store day thing. But I've had some experience with like OG versus reissues. I mean, it's first of all, that's my first love. We've been over this dozens of times.
Yeah.
Sonically, like it doesn't make a difference to me. Some reissues are pretty muddy and bad, but like it's not really about like an audiophile experience when I put on on those records. It's just like I just want to hear the music. So I think it's just my biggest thing is it's got to be available to the least common denominator, which is people that just want vinyl. Doesn't matter what the quality is, and they should be putting a lot of this stuff back out. But the problem with hip hop, I think, is a lot of artists had like a the music business was different in the 90s where you could have an artist that had one or two records and then just went into obscurity. But people want that stuff. They grew up on it. Vinyl wasn't really pressed then. If it was, it's probably hard to get. And I don't know if there's licensing restrictions. And I even know there's stuff I know for a fact that are like Stone Cold classics that I can't find in any streaming service that weren't mixtapes. They were official releases that like nobody knows where they are. So
It was like De La Soul was probably the most common and popular one, which
well,
had issues with it wasn't even streamable until like a year ago.
I have to address this comment from Cesar. Yes, I have Mop Top on my title playlist, and I have not sat through full albums, but I've sampled it, and it's on a long list of things I need to listen to. I'm not ignoring it. I remember you recommending it. I have a whole playlist for when people throw stuff at me, which I just eventually get to. So thank you for that.
Yeah, the only thing I would dispute you on, Chris, is that I think that we should get quality reissues. I mean, it doesn't have to be audiophile, but A Tribe Called Quest, that was one where I was really disappointed that I picked up their two big records, which of course I'm going to space out on now.
Just two.
Well, I mean,
Well, so that's a good example. You should seek out the vinyl. You should seek out the Vinyl Me
I got
Please Low End
this.
Theory. It sounds awesome. That
Well,
anthology.
yeah, anthology. So for whatever reason, this sounds great. So if I was going to recommend it, I would say don't get in this case, I would avoid the Walmart Target reissue series, whatever they've done to the A Tribe Called Quest. I don't think they sound good at all. To me, they're unlistenable. I get it. Like I do just want to hear the music, but then anthology sounds awesome. So feel confident recommending that one.
You should just, I don't know what, I'll keep an eye on the VMP site. Because the Low End Theory they put out is at 045, and
Vinyl and Kicks just said it, like as if you guys
it
are
rocks.
Simpatico. He said that BMP is doing quality hip hop.
Yeah, I think they are. They're doing quality. The titles for me are a little bit out of my wheelhouse sometimes, but like they've done like a bunch of Ghostface solo albums. They did The Tribe. They did some Outkast stuff. It all sounds really good. There was one other hip hop one that I love that they did. Oh, they did the Goody Mob, which was great. Like some of that stuff, it's like it's kind of weird because they can't press 5 or 10,000 Goody Mob albums and sell it. They're just not going to. There's not enough market out there. So I guess like these clubs are a good way to do those things. And some of those went up in value pretty high, but have tapered off.
Yeah.
Camp Low is awesome. Yeah, Vinyl and Kicks. I've shown that on the album cover stream. I love that record. I wonder if Vinyl and Kicks seems like he's an East Coast guy. I don't know if that's true. I don't want to blow up his spot.
You guys might be neighbors.
I'm gonna have to link up.
Oh, my dog wants to make an appearance. Oh, maybe not. Hi, baby.
Oh, VMP did a nice reissue of Snoop Dogg's Doggy Style too. That was pretty cool. They did.
Oh, really?
They did the first Biggie album. They did the De La Soul before people had the rights. They did Repeat High and Rising, and they've done like all the rest of the catalog as it comes out. Nathaniel Mars, VMP starts charging more than double for the new De La in the gel sleeve. I think it's also some kind of peppermint spearmint green variant too. I saw that.
I think that's the one. And I don't think I have the green one.
This is one that just got announced.
Oh,
Oh, okay. So he's in the ATL. Nice.
This one's pink, I think. Yeah, this one's pink.
Which one
Sounds
is
great.
that? Yeah.
Sounds great. Didn't have to
Stone
break
Cold
the bank.
classic.
Yep.
I'm trying to rack my brain because some of the hip hop they got like too cute with. I was like, I don't really want this. I'm just an old guy now, so some of it I can't listen to. But
yeah, like a lot of the stuff that I like, they'll probably never reissue. But fortunately, in fact, Brandon and I just talked about it. If you guys check out the hip hop stream or video I just dropped this morning on Spins Vinyl, it's for the show Turntable Tales. But yeah, a lot of the stuff that I like early, like Houdini, Dougie Fresh, the Fat Boys, Run DMC, like this stuff's very affordable. You know, you can still get these OGs, and they're really affordable. It's the stuff that a little later stuff, as we well know, as vinyl started to get kind of replaced by CDs. That stuff's really pricey.
It's crazy too because hip hop's such a regional thing. Like I remember when we were at WFMU, Chance was bugging out, and rightfully so. I think he got a first press of an NWA record, and it's like I wasn't knocking him for it, but like in the area I'm in, it's like that's not uncommon because that's what everybody was listening to. Like if there's one record store I go to, it's not even like a hip hop centric store. They probably have 8 or 12 feet of bins, just 12-inch hip hop and R&B singles. Like just for because there's so many DJs and stuff that like offloaded their collections. But that's the cool thing. Like you go to certain areas, you're gonna get better punk because it's still physical media, right? It doesn't travel like mass produced stuff did. And so you get kind of, especially in New York and around that area, you can really find some of those records outside of Discogs pretty inexpensively and pretty commonly. So
that's an interesting question from listener Bizarre. Has anyone ever done a bit about speculation on what is in Henry Rollins' record? I mean, he shows a lot of that stuff, doesn't he? I mean, I know he's really into vinyl, and he does videos on showing wax. I don't know how deep he gets into his collection or anything.
I want him to talk more. I every video I see him pop up talk about music I watch. I forgot the podcast. I'll find it now. He did 2 episodes on this podcast where he talked about his collection as an experience with record collecting.
He probably has some crazy stuff.
Vinyl Obsession. No, not Vinyl Obsession. That's the Access TV one. Hold on.
While you're doing that, Vinyl Kick says, yeah, the hip hop titles VMP has been choosing for a while has been kind of weak. I'm a big 90s hip hop guy.
The Vinyl Guide. There you go. Yeah, perfect prescription said it. Yeah. So the Vinyl Guide, he did 2 episodes. And not only that, what's fascinating about him is he's like a curator of like old punk posters and memorabilia and stuff. And he talks about how he's got like everything stored in an acid-free environment. One of the cool things I learned about him is, and I wish I had the discipline to do this, he replaces his inner sleeves, but he keeps like some generic inner sleeves. And every time he listens to an album, he dates it and he writes down like a review of that album. So if he goes back over a record, he can see through the years, like how his opinion changed or what his thoughts are or whatever the case may be, which I thought was pretty cool. He also told a really funny story. Both episodes are worth listening to. It's captivating, but summarizing this, he told a really funny story about how he's got this, incredible sound system, speakers and turntable and all that stuff. And when he moved, he called the dealer to like come in and package up his system for him. And then when he got to his new place, they traveled with him and like recalibrated and everything. I'm like, oh man, that's a dream. That's a dream for me.
That's some
He's like, I wasn't going to touch
stuff.
the cartridge. Like, he's like, but he also kind of hints at the idea that even though he has this astronomical collection and really high end stereo, he falls into the trap of like spending all of his money on records and prioritizing his record habits. Like his manager and account have to be like, dude, you need to go back on tour if you want to buy more records. So
that's funny.
Kind of funny. Yeah.
Another one would be like Questlove, which I think again, this is, I don't remember. I haven't seen it, Questlove, but he's talked about his collection, I think. But he's got like 100,000 records or something, right? I mean, how can he even possibly go through them all?
A few years ago, he hired somebody just to organize his records every day for him.
Yeah, that's funny.
So I have a question for Vinyl and Kicks. So he says, Get On Down does some cool hip hop reissues. I just saw the D'Angelo Live at the Jazz Cafe pop up on their site. So if Get On Down is reputable, I'm going to cop that because the OGs of that are like $300-$400.
Huh.
So that's a good tip. I actually might have some Get On Down stuff. I think like I might have like the first D'Angelo record, maybe like Most Def and Talib Kweli, Black Star. Might have I think the Get On Down is like a big gold hype sticker.
Well, since we're still on, why don't we do this? Let me get on up, get on down. All right.
Yeah.
Should I sign up? No.
So search D'Angelo for me. I swear I saw it, unless it was like a knockoff site. Live at the Jazz Cafe. Yeah, there it is. See if it's sold out. That first one.
Oh, if it isn't, you better go buy it.
Yeah, it's like
$40.
This is like a
wow.
Yeah. If you go look at on eBay and Discogs, like the OGs of this are pretty pricey.
I mean, I couldn't get this. It doesn't have How Does It Feel? What is that song called? How does it subtitled How Does It Feel? I forget what the title is.
This is before the second record came out, I'm pretty sure. Scroll down. Yeah, 1998. So this is before Voodoo. You know, D'Angelo only releases an album once every 76 years. So.
Oh, there's the one right there.
Yeah, this is one of the best albums ever.
Such a great record. Isn't that the Sgt. Pepper's of its time? So I'm saying that kind of jokingly because I remember that record. What record was that you gifted me?
Oh,
that
Terrence Trent.
Terrence
Trent D'Arby.
Yeah,
Did you listen to that?
I know that record. I haven't listened to it yet.
It's fine. It was one of those things where I saw it in the shrink in the store, and I'm like, oh, this is supposed to be like an essential record. So let me pick it up, and I put it on. I was like, yeah, not happening.
I mean, the one song on there, the single, which I can't think of right now, is good. Let me see if I have it right here. Yeah, so here it is. Gift from Chris. Thank you, Chris, with the hype sticker and everything. Someone else is going to call it out before I can even find it. Yeah, Wishing Well. I mean, Wishing Well is cool.
Wishing Well, yeah. So this is good advice. I was hesitant on get on down, but I'm gonna peruse their site a bit.
Oops.
So go to 90s hip hop. I can't believe that's a genre, but I guess it makes sense.
I messed it up. Where do you see it?
Underneath genres.
Right there. So, see, I would have went straight to 80s, but that speaks to our age.
Oh, Moment of Truth is on there. Cool.
They have
Jay, if you don't have scroll up, if you don't have that Camp Low record, man.
Yeah, my 90s hip hop is anemic.
It's right in your wheelhouse. Obviously the main ingredient. I gotta get that.
So here's that Gangstar. I don't know if you're. I think Chance is gone, but this is one he was looking for, an OG of that they had at that store I was at over the weekend. Yeah. I forget what they were asking. Like it was like 150 or something like that.
Yeah, it's an awesome record. That was like 98 or 99. I have that.
$21. I wonder if that's the Walmart version. I already know I don't like it.
I have scroll back up. I have that Tribe box.
I'm sorry, dude. I promise I'm going to scroll back up, but I want that so bad.
I wonder if that was on the Universal sale. I feel like it might have.
It was, dude. That's why that was the one thing I wish I would have pulled the trigger on. And Check Your Head both came out as with extended, like multiple LPs. Sorry, what did you want me to look at?
You know my love-hate relationship with 45s. I haven't even opened this yet. It's not the glow in the dark version. It's just standard black. But this is sold out on their site. I wonder if I should pop it open.
How do I hold on? Oh, that's cool, dude. Was that a Record Store Day thing?
No, this was a Tribe Called Quest site exclusive. They did a glow in the dark version, which I didn't get because I don't like colored vinyl if I can avoid it. And they did a black version. I got the black. The thing that pisses me off is I wasn't paying attention a few years ago before this where they did the first album. So it's the album broken up into 45. So it's more of like a novelty thing.
Right.
But I've been eyeballing on eBay and Discogs People's Instinctive in the same version, and it's just so expensive I can't pull the trigger on it. So I haven't even opened this yet because I don't know, I'm weird like that. So I lied. I do have a sealed record still. It's this.
That's the thing. You said novelty. I mean, it's kind of like, isn't that kind of more of a novelty? I mean, how many times are you going to flip the record over to get through that album? I mean, does the fact that it's on 45 RPM have enough benefit that you have to flip it over 15 times to hear the whole thing?
So I would rock I don't buy 45s typically. I don't go out of my way. A lot of the 45s I get are like people are getting rid of them and they just give them to me because I know I like records, or comes with like a special edition. If I had my turntable set up like with a chair and some headphones, I would probably rock more 45s.
Yeah.
Or I could just kind of like sit there and spin through, but I should probably think about setting that up on my other turntable.
See, here we go. Now we're talking, baby. We got the LL Cool J radio, Bigger and Deffer, EPMD, Run DMC. See, now we're in my neck of the woods.
The Jungle Brothers, I think they did a Record Store Day exclusive on that, so I'm glad to see that's in print.
The Slick Rick action figure. That's dope, dude.
Maybe some guys in the chat know. I just saw they did like an MF Doom action figure, and it's like $300.
Run DMC, dude. Oh, really? $300? Dang.
Yeah.
I don't think that's secondary. I have the OG.
Yeah, that's a good one.
It's a good one. Yeah, almost. Oh no, this is a different one. Too short. This is great, dude. Wow, cool.
This is a good site. Yeah, I'm glad it got verified. I'm gonna have to dig into this a little bit.
Yes, thanks for sharing. Oh yeah, I need my Grandmaster Flash. I don't have this one. Easy-E. Yeah.
EPMD. The stuff I want in print, and they did one on Record Store Day, is all the Keith Murray catalog. I don't know why it's not in print at all. That's insane to me. He had like three classics in the mid-90s.
Curtis Blow. Yeah, see, this is what so I guess some of the stuff has been reissued. I didn't realize that. There's a lot of stuff here. Mine just arrived today. Paul's Boutique.
Nice.
It's in this massive, it's only one LP, but it's in like this massive gatefold. I don't know. I don't have an OG, so I don't know. Hold on, let me blow myself.
Yeah, I think I have that reissue too.
It's like not just a gatefold, it's like massive. Full 360 panoramic view. But yeah. I don't think it's, well, yeah, I guess it is the same one.
Did yours open up like I don't know if I have the same version. This one opens up like a try.
That's what I was just showing. It's like 4, yeah.
So the Vinyl Me Please did a check your head too, which is pretty good.
Yeah, so now I just need to get check your head and ill communication.
Yeah.
I'm looking for both those.
Yeah, this is a cool. It's so crazy. I think this is their best album, and like it kind of flopped when it came out.
Yeah, it's like a cult classic now, but yeah, at the time it did not do well. Okay, cool. This is cool, dude. There's ill communication. I might be snagging these very shortly. Yeah, I don't see how you could. That's the one thing about this Paul's Boutique is that it's only on one record, right? And I haven't listened to the whole thing yet because it just came today, so I don't know if there's going to be distortion or anything. Hopefully
Nathaniel
not.
Mars, Ludlow and Rivington. I think that's Beastie Boys Square, right?
Which?
Nathaniel Mars shouted out Ludlow and Rivington. That's like the Beastie Boys neighborhood.
The Tri 45 is good for a DJ set, yeah. Wider groups sound better, so worth it, absolutely. Third Base Cactus album is legit. Ludlow and Rivington says, yeah, you just mentioned it. I have that same Paul's Boutique pressing, yeah. Showing paid $13 for it many years back. Oh, cool.
Nice. I had a chance to get they released this anthology, The Sounds of Science. It was on CD, and I guess they did like a limited pressing of it at that time. My local had it. It was just way out of my price range, but that's a really cool anthology that they did. I don't know if you should at least stream it. It's got some cool stuff on it.
Is that the one
like
that
the
came
three of
out
them
like
on
a long time, like 10 or 15 years ago?
Has to be 25 years ago now.
Yeah, so a long. Yeah, I think I've heard it has the original Jimmy James with the Hendrix samples.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard that. It's great.
Has like a Benny and the Jets cover.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool. There's
like
sorely
a lot more
underrated
hardcore stuff on there.
Yeah. There's also that instrumental funk album they did. I had on CD. I've never seen it on vinyl. I don't know if it exists. It might. I should get it if it does. But that's a cool record too. It's like all just stuff throughout the years that I don't know if they deliberately made it an album or it's just stuff from sessions and everything that they put together.
Yeah, that's cool, dude. I mean, their first 5, man. Just, I mean, if I'm being honest, like after Hello Nasty, I kind of checked out, but everything up to that point is awesome.
Two more after that, right?
Yeah.
They had hits on those records. I'll give them that. I don't remember.
Well, from the Five Boroughs one is actually good. Actually, I take that back. I actually like that one too.
I think I got a track with Nas on one of them too.
They might have had 3 more after that because they did. From the Five Boroughs came out, and then I think they had 2 more. I don't know. Someone can back check us, but
I want to know what's in the can. I want to know what they haven't put out from like an unreleased perspective. I'm sure there's a ton, but they also seem like that. And not to say they separated from their past as extreme as some artists have, but it seems like they just leave it behind. Like when they were touring live before Yacht passed, like obviously they played their hits, but they kept on forging forward. They didn't just ride that gravy train forever. Like they probably could have. They could have played License to Ill forever,
right?
And they moved on. They moved on pretty abruptly, actually, with Paul's Boutique, if you think about it. Complete departure. So
I was just watching a great interview with them where they talk about their thought process from going from License to Ill to Paul's Boutique and then into Check Your Head, I think was the next one, right? And it's like all totally different ideas going into all 3 of those records.
To highlight Nathaniel Mars's comment, this guy's an authority. 5 Boroughs and Mix Up and Hot Sauce Part 2.
There you go. So that's right. There's 2 more after 5 Boroughs.
The Wolfman Jack of the vinyl community, as I like to
check it out.
Well, it's late on the East Coast, my man. I know it's early for you.
I know, dude. I'm gonna go have dinner after this and maybe watch a movie.
Yeah.
I know you got work tomorrow too, man. All right, brother. It's been a pleasure as always.
Yes, this is great. I think it was really fueled by the gallery tonight. Man.
Yeah, absolutely, man. You guys are fantastic. I keep saying it, and I mean it. All right. Well, we'll be back Thursday for Serpent's Noise B-side. That should be fun, and then we'll be back next Monday as well, like clockwork. Hope everyone has a fantastic evening and next couple of days until we get to see you again on Thursday. Thanks, Vinyl and Kicks.
Check your head.
Check your head, everybody. Be the illest you can be until next time I see you. All right, guys. Have a good night.